A-do-do-do-do-do-do. A-do-do-do-do-do. Not trying to be live, but I am. I'm just testing live. And I'm also, I am meeting a friend. Um, Look at my cat down there. I don't even know if you can hear me. I had a lot to drink. Ray Reddington? Yes, it is. I'm just testing live chat to see what it's like. I'm using the camera on my TV. My TV has a camera and internet access, and I'm just trying it. This is Phoebe. I have two cats. One's very mean and bites me at every chance she gets, and one is very nice. And Phoebe is the mean cat. So if I pat her down here, I'm very surprised she's not biting me right now. I was going to talk about the Beacon Star. I've had someone ask me several times where the prizes are, and I mean it's like nothing. It's like the prize is a gold coin. The gold coin is in the possession of my ex girlfriend in Denver, and yeah, this is my girl down here. This is Phoebe. Um, but yeah, my coin is in the possession of my ex girlfriend, and she was going to send it to me. And that was before this whole COVID-19 situation hit. Denver is really locked down because um, they've had a lot of cases in Denver, so they're really locked down. I've talked to my other girlfriend in Denver. She hasn't left her apartment in like 2 months, which is incredible. She's had food delivered. And she says she's literally had electric, and that's kind of hard for me to believe because she was a walker. She liked to walk everywhere. Um, so yeah, that's kind of hard to hear. And my other girlfriend says yes, she's also has not left her apartment in a long time, but she does have a living boyfriend now. And I asked her to mail me the coin. She was very reluctant to mail me the coin. I said, "Well, I'll come out and get it." I had planned on coming to get it last week, and last week, of course, and we made all these arrangements before this whole COVID-19 hit. But last week, I did take a week off of work. That was the week I was supposed to go to Denver, and I decided against it. I just stayed home and rested for a week. Um, but I do plan to go boots on the ground for the Forest Fen treasure. There's a place where I want to check out. And when I do that, I will take a swing through Denver and pick up the coin and everything. Um, the money is not, I mean, it's available, it's right there. And I did say I would say it. I would add $1 for every book sold. I've yet to sell 300 books. I think I had like 290 something. Um, so maybe $5,300. I was thinking about buying a bond. I was doing some research on this today, and bonds are. You think you'd be able to put in a calculator and say, okay, what's a bond? If I buy it today for $5,000, what's it worth in 10 years? I couldn't find a calculator on that because the interest rate is just too wild and fanatical. So, yeah, I might still do that. The money is just whatever I have available. I mean, I have 5,000 available. Um, that's not an issue. The gold coin, getting that back. If nothing else, I'll get another gold coin. I know I paid $1,800 for the gold coin back in, I think it was 2010. I bought the gold coin. I did buy a PGS. It was in a PGSC sealed packet, and I cut it out because I like holding the gold coins. And I've over here, I actually have silver coins, and I broke all them out of their packages. And because when they're rated, they seal them so that they never change. But I mean, I've carried these gold coins. There's two of them, and one is a Morgan dollar, and one is a Lady Liberty dollar, and they're like the years that they change. One's in the 1920s, and one is in later 1920s. But I've carried those around for probably the last 12, 15 years. So if you see me on the street, you say, "Hey, show me your gold coins." I'll probably pull them out of the pocket, and I carry them for superstitious reasons. Um, like if I die, you got to have gold coins to pay the ferryman, and that's what I started out with. And it's like, wow, so that's what I've started carrying those silver coins around. I've carried them with me ever since, and they're very good shape. And I carried the gold coin around for a while until I got scared. There was a rash of muggings in Denver, and I was always out late at night in downtown Denver, and I've seen videos of like guys just standing at bus stops and people just run out of nowhere and just beat the crap out of them. And I thought, I'm going to lose this gold coin. I didn't, the silver coins are worth about $40 a piece, so I don't worry about the silver coins. But the gold coin I was kind of worried about. And my cats are fighting. But I worried about the gold coin, and I left it at my girlfriend's house, and that's where it's been ever since. So it's just a matter of time for me to get back to Denver, to get it, to pick it up. I'm not really worried about it. We're on good terms. And like I said, I was supposed to go get it last week, and this whole COVID, and then we made the plans way before the COVID-19 hit. But yeah, that's where that stands. And then somebody asked me, I'm not going to say who, but somebody keeps asking me, well, how many books have you sold? Because you said you're going to put $1 in for every book. And literally, I haven't sold 300 books. Yeah, so I would say like I said, I sold about 290 something, so it's close to 300. And that's worldwide. For some reason, I've sold books in Belgium and Germany and England, and I don't really have a reason for that. Somebody bought them. But that's where that stands. There's people popping up in the chat room. Like I said, I was just kind of practicing this. I live in a one-room studio apartment, and this is the one room. The camera is on my TV. I don't even know if you can hear me or not, but the camera is on my TV. The TV is my computer. So, I sit here with my wireless mouse and keyboard and do stuff on my computer. So that's about it, really. Someone, like I said, I've been pressured to say where all the prizes are, and it's like a non-issue because, I don't think this will be solved for a long, long time, and I'm pretty confident of that. I've been watching online. I've seen people solve about 70 to 80% of the real world clues, and right now the world's locked down, so that makes a non-difference. It's like the places in Denver where you need to go to find Denver's locked down, and I don't recommend anyone going out in Denver, so everything's just kind of on hold right now. So I don't recommend people going to Denver right now. As soon as I can travel, I mentioned this before, but I have a vehicle that has a blown strut, and it's like $1,200 to fix the strut. So I'm waiting for one of my paydays. I just paid my rent this payday, so next payday was a free payday. I'm hoping I can get my strut fixed, and then my car is roadworthy. And then after that, it's just a matter of finding the time and making sure we're not on lockdown. So I could drive out. I want to do boots on the ground for my location for the Forest Fan treasure. And then I'll drop down to Denver and pick up the gold coin. And whenever I'm in Denver, I always stop by and verify that the token is still in place. It's always been there. It's been there for, what year is this? 2020. I think it's been there for about 6 or 7 years now. I'd have to look at a calendar to be sure. But every time I go there, I check it and it's there, and I'm like, this is so cool. I found the best hiding spot. Um, but yeah, that's my beacon star. One thing I want, you know, I don't know. Let's see, just Minnesota. I used to live on the Minnesota border in Illinois, and I traveled up to, my family lived, not my family, but my wife's family lived in Minnesota, and right up by the Michigan border. So several times a year we would drive through Minnesota, and that was always interesting. There's no highway that goes like from the bottom to the top, so it's all back roads, and that was always fun, especially when you have 4 kids. And yeah, Minnesota's the thing, because we were up by the Marinette. What's the other town by Marinette? I can't remember, but Marinette. God, I can't remember the name of the city across the border, but it's just like redneck city. Everywhere you go, it's like big high-rise pickup trucks, people shouting at you, people whooping and hollering, guns in the windows, and it's very rednecky. Oh, here comes a cat, and it's like I couldn't get into that, and I know. They're all hunters and fishermen, and just they all drink and holler and hoot. In fact, my family, my wife's family that we went up to visit, that's what they did. They owned a bar. So we'd go up to Minnesota and we'd hang out in the bar. Let's see. Do you ever worry about people? No, I don't. What I worry about is when I go to check on the prize. This is what I worry about. I go there and like I have to, I check and I put my hand in the spot, and I worry that someone else might see me doing that. So when I leave, like someone that saw me doing that might say, well, what the heck was that guy doing? And then go up and check it. So I don't worry about searchers following me, but I worry about people seeing me check the spot and then wonder what I was checking and then finding it. So, I see Kyle Lazars is in here. He's probably very interested in this live chat. Like I said, this is very spur of the moment. I'm very drunk, and I thought, well, I'll go live and just talk about this. But yeah, I talked about the prizes. You'll have to watch the video. If nothing else, like I said, I'm on good terms with my ex. But the problem is the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've not been able to get in touch with her. I'm very worried. I've talked to her boyfriend. He says, no, she's just going through some things. So I know that she's there and stuff. So it's just my cats are about ready to fight right in front of me. It's going to be funny. But yeah, like I said, that last week I was supposed to go out there, and we made these plans long before this COVID-19 hit. So I'm hoping probably because I just got paid, and in 2 weeks, I'm hoping to get my car fixed. And then I don't know. It just depends on when travel restrictions are lifted and stuff. I'll drive out there and get everything. Because I bought it on eBay. It was mailed to me on eBay, and I'm like, just mail it to me. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. It's a gold coin. Something will happen. So I'll pick it up. Like I said, when I go boots on the ground, I have a solve that I love, and I'm going to go out and at least verify. Because if I don't go out there and verify, I will always wonder if that's the right solve. And so I'm going to go out there, and when I do that, I'll stop in Denver and get everything that's mine. This is Michael. I don't know if you can see him, but this is Michael. We call him Mike Hat. Because if anyone asks, he is my cat. He was a stray that we picked up, and he was bones when we found him, and he was covered with fleas. We defleed him, so he's kind of a rescue cat. That was wild, and I've had him for a couple of years now. And Phoebe is a barn cat. I got her when she was just a tiny, tiny kitten, but she's never liked humans. She's always I don't know if you can see my arm is just covered with scratches. Anytime I try to pet her, she scratches me. And they're eyeing each other right now because they constantly fight. When I lived at my old place, I lived in a 3-story house, and Phoebe lived on the second floor, and Michael lived on the first floor, and there was a door on the stairway, so they never intermingled. Phoebe was queen of the second floor, and Michael was king of the first floor. So when I moved into this studio apartment, they've had to commingle, and it's taken quite a while, but they've gotten used to each other. They still fight. If they get too close to each other, they'll fight like crazy. So I got to keep an eye on them sometimes. I'm just worried one day I'll come home and one will be missing an eye or something because they fight horribly. But it's a lot better than what it was. Let me see. Oh, hey. All right. See what I mean? I don't know if anyone can hear me. Can you guys hear me okay? Let's see. Does Tinker in the book have anything to do with the Tinker on the wall? You know, it's funny because I went to Overeaters Anonymous, and they said that I had to have a higher power, and because the whole 12-step program is based on a higher power, and I don't have a higher power. So at the time, I'm not sure. It started out kind of as a joke. My kids bought me a Tinkerbell bumper sticker and put it on my car, and I put like 3 more Tinkerbell bumper stickers on my car, and my car is known around town as that Tinkerbell car. And because now they're on like the side windows and stuff. And from there, I just started collecting. I don't know if I did it in spite of this or because of it, but I started collecting Tinkerbell paraphernalia. And I do have, I just got like 5 more pins in the mail. I have about 150 pins. I have statues. I have crystal statues. I don't know, other than the portrait, but I have about, right now with the 5 that just came in, I have about 265 Tinkerbell items. In fact, I'm drinking now. I don't know if you can see it, but there's Tinkerbell on my mug right here. I drank literally half a bottle of this. It's empty now. So when I finish this, that's all the rum I have in the house. But that's the story of Tinkerbell in a nutshell. But some of the things I started collecting are very rare. Some of the pins they call them LE limited edition from Disney. And some of them are LE 150, which means only 150 of them were produced. And I have a couple of those. And so I started collecting. You can't see up there, but I have a very rare statue from like the 1940s. I have laser etchings. I have crystal etchings. So I have Tinkerbell like all over the place. It's just because that's my higher power. So that's the story of Tinkerbell. Yeah, I stick my hand in there. Liquors. Oh, Hoolie's here and Jimmy Fast. I didn't expect anyone to come in. This was just a test. I don't even know if people can hear me because I'm using the mic on the camera that's on the TV. So let's see. It's interesting. I was just in Toby's chat for his. I don't know. When I watch his chats, I always think of Coast to Coast because I listen to Coast to Coast on occasion. And it's always these people calling in, telling their ghost stories and their paranormal experiences, and it's always so fantastic, and you don't believe anybody. And that's what his channel reminds me of, is Coast to Coast. Mm-hmm. The Beacon Star. You know, it's funny because when I write, I've written probably 50, 60 short stories, and I always have a working title, and then when I finish it, I put a regular title on it. And sometimes I just go with the working title. And the Beacon Star came about because the Beacon Star was a lighthouse at one point, and it was the beacon, and they didn't realize this till one of the later chapters. And so yeah, it has to do with just being a beacon. I've been Star Thinker since 1979, and a lot of the people that know me in real life, they don't even call me Randy. They call me Star Thinker, or they call me Star for short. And I've just been Star Thinker for as long as I could remember. So when I wrote the Beacon Star, it seemed to fit. And because it was a beacon at one time, it got torn down, and the clues to that was in the basement. You'll have to read the story to find all that out. Oh, let's see. Anything else in the chat here? No one's, because the only place I've ever seen anyone work on the puzzles is on Mysterious Writings, and I can tell you that it's funny because some people are so right in some places and so wrong in other places. And to me, that's the way I expected it. I expected this book to be totally discussed on the internet, and a lot of things in the book were designed for people to discuss on the internet, believe it or not. I put a lot of thought into it. I put a lot of thought into, like, hey, if I write this in the book, people are going to pick up on this. If I do this in the book, people are going to pick up on this, and they're going to discuss it. They're going to search it, and they're going to look for it. And the locations in Denver, to me, they're common locations. They're places I visited almost daily, and or at least weekly. And I just thought, hey, these would be great places to be clues. And surprisingly enough, they're not. I think what was there, 10 of them, and 8 of them have been found, and 2 have not been found at all. And with the lockdown, I don't know if they can actually be found. One, I was told, wasn't there any longer. That's how the Valentine Goose came about. Was I took a trip to Denver and I verified all the clues are still in place, and I was really happy with that. And I did find that. What are you doing? I did find that. People have told me, oh, this clue is not in place, not there. And I'm like, I'm going to go verify it. And I did go, and I spent, and I was going to go up to the Goose Creek campground, which is my favorite place. And I don't actually camp at the Goose Creek campground. I camp at a campsite that's above the Goose Creek campsite. That's way up the road. And I meant to go up there, but my car broke down. A connector on my car broke, and it was a Sunday. Like, I went everywhere looking for this stupid little clamp, and I finally made one myself. And I was worried that on the bumpy roads, because when you're on these roads, you have to drive through rivers, you have to drive through washed out areas of the road. And I was afraid my homemade connector would fall out and I'd be stranded deep in the mountains. And so I neglected to do that. But I did go through Nebraska. I was really surprised to find that my family had a huge branch in Nebraska. And there was a whole adventure there. I drank whiskey that I found on a gravesite. So I had all these adventures that I do alone, and nobody knows about them. Let's see. What am I missing in chat? Oh my is my phone going off. Thor. I haven't. I've seen the Thor part of it. I haven't seen any posts lately. I just figured no one's working on it because everyone's working on Forest Fan. Let's see. God, there's a lot of people in here. How many people? Does it say somewhere? I can't confirm anything. I'm going to leave it. When I first started this, one of the things I did was I had met Michael Stather. Michael Stather did. In fact, I might have it down there, but he did uh, the Treasure Trove, and then the follow up, the Alchemist Star. And he said one of the things he was really surprised about was people sharing clues, and he had a hard time with people contacting him and stuff. And that's why I've never given out an email address. I've never. People have emailed me privately, like on YouTube and stuff, and I just don't answer those. But privately, I just won't do anything. If you ask me something publicly in one of the forums, I might answer that. But I feel like if I answer something privately, then somebody has privileged information. And even if they agree to share that information, who can trust that? You know, I don't know if I would trust something that someone told me third party. So I try not to give out private info. Well, in fact, I don't. I just simply don't. I've had people email me stuff that I've answered publicly that I haven't really said what the question was, because I'm basically answering their question in public. That's why I answered. I can't remember what the question was or what my answer was, but there was one. Forgive me, I've had a lot to drink, but yeah, I don't answer anything privately. That's why I went to Denver, because someone kept saying, "Oh, I've got this clue and it's the right place, but there's nothing there." And in answer, I mean, that's why I drove to Denver and was like, I took pictures of all the clues to make sure they're all still there. And I'm like, yeah, they're still there. So that was kind of an answer to something that was private. I never answered them in private, but publicly I answered them. So, post in the private group, I don't know. I guess I'm not in the private group. So I had an ebook, but the problem was in the ebook, the images kept getting screwed up. And so after a while, I got tired of all the images getting screwed up, and I said, well, the heck with it. All my other books are ebooks because they don't have images. But this is Phoebe. This is the mean one. This is the one that'll bite me if I pet her too long. Yep, and there she goes. Oh, she's cute. But no, I don't have an ebook for this because the pictures everyone kept complaining about the pictures, so I said the heck with it and just left the published one alone. You need to get down. There you go. And $7 on Amazon. $7 on Amazon. I did that because there's price tiers, and the lowest price tier for my book was $7. So I literally went with the lowest price tier because I wanted everyone to buy my book. And I thought about making it higher. You can make a higher profit margin because everything above $7 is profit. But I did the lowest tier. I get about $1 or something, $1 and change for every book I sell. And again, I know Cowlizers is in here. I'm sorry. I've had so much to drink. I haven't sold 300 books yet. So if you're one of the searchers, you're like, I know like Michael Stather sold millions of books, and Forrest Fenn sold tens of thousands. And so there's like, my book is like small potatoes. So I don't know why so many people are even interested in it. I did it. It's a love project. I did it because I love the genre, and I did it kind of as a Denver hunt, and it's gone beyond Denver. I used to live in Denver, just so you know. Which part of the plaques? It's spelled out. If you can't tell, then you're not reading the clue right. I'm missing some of the chat because I'm talking. So I'm not going to confirm the triangles. I don't have the ebook. The plaques, it spells out what part of the plaques to read. I do have another project planned. I had a project plan before this, and I did talk to a lawyer, and I think I mentioned this when I was on the marathon. And the lawyer advised against it because one of my real world clues was in a delicate area. And he said, you know what? If people go trampling the grass in this area, if people go to this area and they damage it, he says you're going to be held liable for that. And it was a public place, and I didn't. So I kind of gave that one up, and that was I probably spent another 5 years on that one, and it had to deal with a chess game, and if you read the book, there was like 52 cities in the book, and you put 52 cities on the chessboard in the same order that they're listed in the book. And in the book, I hint against a famous chess game, and you follow the moves of the bishop, which tells you what cities to go to. And it was really nice. I thought it was cool because I like real world experiences, and I like people who like to go out into the real world, because that's what a treasure hunt's about, is to get out there and to do stuff. And one of my real world locations, I was told, don't do this, and I couldn't modify it to get anything else, and so I scrapped it. I thought about doing an Iowa hunt. I was going to do a hunt. There was a hunt already in Iowa where they hid keys in different counties for Mini Coopers, and it was a very short-lived hunt because they ran out of money, and because everyone kept winning and they weren't making any money on it. But yeah, the Mini Coopers. So that kind of thought, well, I wonder if I could do an Iowa hunt, but there's 100 counties in Iowa, literally 100 counties. And I thought, if I do a hunt in Iowa, I don't want to do 100 clues. That's just too crazy. But I do have other ideas. I'm always coding, and I'm always looking for codes. And it's like everything I look at, like this picture behind me, if you look at the frame, it has a design in the frame. So when I'm in a museum and I look at a frame and I'm like, that frame doesn't have a pattern. And if it doesn't have a pattern, I wonder if there's a code in it. And I'll stand for hours looking at a picture in a museum going, there's got to be a code in this frame. It's just part of who I am, and I can't escape that. And I love that idea. And so there's things I do that I've hidden geocaches and things like that, and I just love doing that. And I thought about doing something here in Iowa. I thought about doing another nationwide hunt, and the Alchemist was supposed to be an online hunt, but that's always, once you lose a web page, you've scrapped the hunt. So I kind of scrapped that idea. I still like the idea of a real world hunt, and I like real world clues. I'm looking at the chat. I can't believe how many people are here. I just did this as kind of a test. I love Utah. Jack says I need a hunt in Utah. I love Utah. I used to live in Utah. I lived next to what was the name of that town? It was many, many years ago. But I lived just north of Salt Lake, and at the time Salt Lake was drying up. I don't even know what it's doing these days, but it was like really drying up. But I love that area. There was a Volkswagen graveyard there, and I love going to the Volkswagen graveyard because I owned probably 30 Volkswagens, and I'd go there and I'd look for parts and stuff. I love that area. We also loved that I encountered my first earthquake in Utah. We lived in a basement apartment kind of similar to this one, and the basement apartment started going up and down, and my wife and I was like, what the hell is it? And we had a baby at the time, so the baby crib is going up and down, and we're like, what the heck? Turned out it was an earthquake. It was my very first earthquake. But yeah, I loved Iowa or Utah. I love the desert more than the mountains. When I was in Colorado, I'd go to the desert, in the desert, and there wasn't the mountains, because I'd see. Sometimes you couldn't walk, and you'd be stepping on lizards and snakes and frogs and turtles. And I go up in the mountains, and it might be a full day before I see an elk or something. And it's just like, it just seemed to be more life in the desert. I didn't mean to be the after party. Vegas. I can't talk about Vegas. I'll be banned. I had some great times in Vegas. I had my first 10-way. I've never been to Mike's Facebook page. I have trouble with Facebook. I know I have a Facebook page and stuff, but I have two of them, and I can't figure out why one is different than the other. And one is like a page, and one is like a fan site. I still can't figure it out. And I got to go for a second. I'll be right back. As you notice, I sit on the floor. I always sit on the floor. This is my table. I've had this table for about 10 years, and you can see it's worn out for me sitting here. I eat at it. I drink at it. I do everything on this table. But I'll be right back. I can go another 2 hours now. Now let's see. God, I can't believe how many people are in here. This was just a test, people. I don't play poker because I always lose. I will lose quicker than anybody. I'll be the first one eliminated. When I was in Las Vegas, it was funny because I was staying in a hotel. It was at the end of the strip. I think it was, I can't remember the name of it. But there was a SpongeBob SquarePants like exhibit. So there was characters walking around as SpongeBob, as Squidward. And then there was a stage with naked women on it. I thought, only in Vegas can you see SpongeBob entertaining people and then a stage with naked women on it. And like, that was my first, well, that wasn't, I mean, that was like my third time in Vegas, but that was like my first time where I've actually seen naked women on a stage, and it was with SpongeBob SquarePants. Fandango, as a matter of fact, I'm going to scooch forward. If I can get these. So my TV set's on a stand, and on the stand, I have a couple books. So yes, I have some. These are Tinkerbell books. I do have the Whistle Pig. I do look at that once in a while. And right here's Fandango. And yes, I do work on Fan, but I guess this one's expiring. And I have a Tinkerbell book. And then The Face Without a Clock. I haven't looked at this one in quite a while. I probably solved all the clues everyone else did. I don't know if that one's still good. But yeah, I do look at a lot of these, and they're in areas where, like I said, they're right there. And you can see the cat threw up on this one. But yeah. So yeah, I do work on them. I do look at them. I did go to Chicago and walk the Solve for The Secret, for the Chicago location. I think The Secret, that's like bragging rights only because the guy passed away. But I would like to find one of the casts for The Secrets. I know one has just been found. When you title your video, no, don't watch this, people are... That's because I didn't... This was a test. I didn't want people to watch this. Uh, yeah, I did. It's funny because in fact, I put my book because I drive around a lot, so I carry this briefcase. Um, this is a very fancy leather briefcase. In fact, in here I have, where'd it go? Well, I have my Thrill to Chase, but I also have, here it is. This is my, if you, I don't know if you can tell in the circle, but I wrote working copy. And so sometimes people will post something and I'll go in there and I'll actually write in the book. But yeah, I was looking at this because drop caps, the drop caps that Michael stats on. And it's funny because once I posted it, people were posting, hey, I worked on the drop caps and didn't find nothing. So I'm like, hey, if I ever have a question, I just post a video that says, hey, I worked on this. And people are going to send me answers. It's kind of easy. It's kind of a lazy way of doing it. But I do Google a lot. Like I work at night. I work alone in a big office building. I'm completely alone. And a lot of times I'm just sitting there and I'm Googling Forrest Fenn stuff. And so that's what I do. And I've seen interviews, I've read transcripts, I've seen other people's solves. And I've read back all the way to before he narrowed the search area down. So I've read people like searching California and in Canada and stuff. So it's really interesting to go back and look at those because my solve people were doing like 5 years ago and then they gave up on it. And when I figured this out, I thought, well, I figured this out on my own, but okay, other people looked there. But then I realized that they weren't looking in the same place I was looking. So that's always interesting. Let me see if I missed anything. No, I'm not going to talk about my 10-way. I paid like $500 for that. That's probably too much information. Let's see. I spent so much. See, this is the thing. I worked at a charity for like 12 years. And when you work for a charity in Iowa, you don't have a retirement plan. But you can pay into IPERS, which is the Iowa something. But it's the Iowa retirement plan. And I paid into IPERS for 12 years. And I paid a lot into IPERS. So when I left the charity, IPERS gave all that money back to me. And it was like $26,000. And so I took this $26,000 and I rented a car and I toured every state west of the Mississippi. And I kind of knew I was going to settle in Denver because I was trying to get out of Iowa. And but I toured, I literally just spent, it was 28 days. And first I drove up because I wanted to visit the site of Corner Gas. I drove up into Saskatchewan. And then I came down through North Dakota and I visited Montana. There were some places I wanted to visit. I visited Craters of the Moon. There were some places I visited because of things I read about in my childhood in Montana and in Oregon and stuff. And then I drove down the coast of California, and then I drove. That's where I bought you can't see my crystal ball, but that's where I bought my crystal ball in New Mexico. And I toured, that was my goal, was to tour every state west of the Mississippi. And I did that. And I slept in my car. I think I had a hotel room 3 nights. One of the 3 nights was in Vegas, and that's when I was visiting a friend that I knew in Vegas. She had lived there a long time, and I rented a hotel room, and I probably spent $2-3 grand in Vegas, and you don't want to know what I spent that on, but I did know, like, when you're in Vegas, you're supposed to play the slot machines closest to the door, and I did that, and I actually won back like almost all the money that I spent in Vegas, so that was kind of cool. And and then I drove up to Denver. I visited my friends in Denver, and I actually found an apartment, and I put my rent down. And I figured that with the money I had, I could pay almost a year's worth of rent. So, but then the school opened up, and I got hired at the school. I worked there for a number of years, and but yeah, living in Denver, that was my whole goal in Denver, was to finish my book, and I did do that. That was 3 Men in a Tub. I didn't plan that to be a trilogy, but I kind of got 2 more books planned out for it. But I love Three Men in a Tub. It plays on a lot of things. It's kind of written in the style of Douglas Adams. But yeah, so I had a great time in Vegas, and I did some things that I would have never done anywhere else. How many 10? I believe there are 10 real world places. I'm not going to really go into that. What year did you hide the treasure? I hid the treasure probably 2 years before I published the book. And one of the things I did was I hid the treasure, and before I published the book, I went and made sure it was still there. And because it was still there, that made me confident to publish the book. And I visited it probably 3 or 4 times since then. Just a second here. So anyway, what year? Yeah, that was the last question. But yeah, I hid it years before, and it was just it's because I found the hiding spot, and I thought, if I put something there, it'll probably be there for a long, long time. And, like I said, I tried to think of everything. If there's floods, if there's a forest fire, if there's a citywide zombie attack, and everything, I considered everything. And there's nothing. Yeah, I'm stumbling here. But yeah, there's hardly anything that will destroy this hiding space. It's just always going to be there. I did consider a few things that might wipe it out. If it does, then I'll let everybody know. But every time I visited there, it's been there, and I just think it's so clever. I'm always patting myself on the back that, man, I found the cleverest spot. Forest, Starthinker, right? Yep, Starthinker. It's funny because in 1979, I read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and in it is a character called the Googleplex Starthinker that could calculate all the molecules in a star in a millisecond. And I thought, Starthinker just rolls off the tongue. And when I opened a business in Illinois, I called it Starthinker Enterprises, and I actually registered the name Starthinker as a business name, and I've still kept that. So yeah, that's registered. But in every forum, because this is when the online thing started to become really big, I've just always called myself Starthinker. And like I said, my old girlfriend called me Starthinker. I've just always been Starthinker, and people call me that. When I went on a cruise with a whole bunch of my friends, and I don't think I got called my real name once. Everyone called me Star or Starthinker. So I'm kind of used to it. And likewise, my girlfriend, I call her by her online name all the time. I don't think anyone can stumble upon it. Like I said, if I thought it, when I check it out, I go there and I'll stand and look around, because it's a place where there's everyone in Denver jogs, and everyone in Denver has a dog. And so I can never go there and be alone. And so I'd go there and I'd look around, I'd have to wait. And as soon as there was no one around, I would check it and verify it was there and back off and look around and make sure no one saw me. Because like I said, the worry isn't that someone's watching me, but that someone will be curious as to what I'm doing. Because they'd be like, hey, what's this big fat guy doing over there? But no, I don't think anyone's going to stumble across it. If they do, it'll be really bizarre. And I did put contact information, so if someone does stumble across it, they probably will contact me and say, what the hell was this? And I'll at least still know. Empty glass. Speaking of empty glasses, this is all the rum I have left. Oh, it's nasty. Oh, that's a really nasty rum. It was Bacardi. I like Bacardi. They don't make the Bacardi I really like, which is the Bacardi, what was it, Bacardi 150. Apparently that was too high. And this was just Bacardi Oakart. And like I said, tonight it was like half a bottle. But I'm a big fat guy. I'm Russian. I'm from a Russian lineages. And I've seen my grandfather drink several bottles of stuff in a night and not get drunk. And I think I have some of that in me because my liver must be like this big. I have a hard time getting drunk. And I did a video once. I took it down, but I drank a whole bottle of vodka during the course of the video. One of the reasons I took it down was because I was watching a movie and the movie ended and the end credits played a song. And then I got hit with a what do you call it? A thing where they said, "Hey, you're playing music you're not authorized to play," and they took my video down. I just didn't fight it, but so yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if I'm big, but I'm 6'1" and weigh 340 pounds. My girlfriend, she's my ex-girlfriend. I'm not currently seeing anybody. And if anyone wants to change that, let me know. But I did date a girl in Denver. And when I told her I was moving back to Iowa, that was like, it was really kind of sitcom-ish. It was really kind of a Hallmark movie type thing where I told her she could come live with me. And she was like, I'm not leaving Denver. Denver's my home. And it was a really big deal. So it was really hard to leave Denver, and because that was the last girlfriend I ever had. I haven't dated anyone here in Iowa. Anything else in there? Yes, Beacon Star is heavy in codes. I don't really want to get up, but over here, and I can't move the camera on my TV without moving my whole TV. But over here I have a bookshelf. These are the books I saved from all my moves. And I probably started out with a room this big was my library. And I gave a lot of books away. And I only ended up with one shelf full of books. And those were the books I wanted to keep because they had sentimental value. But a lot of these books are codes and cipher books. And I probably got them memorized. And the different way people, and it's funny because a stenography is it's my favorite thing ever. And I'm always doing, and I do it unconscious. When I do reports at work, I will put codes in my reports. I mean, this is just like a lifestyle for me. And it's like, the old style stenography was, you go back to Francis Bacon and people like that who would put codes in pictures. And nowadays they put computer codes in, JPEGs, and they still call it stenography. So when you Google it, you're going to see all these modern computer terminologies. But the old style is just hiding pictures and it's just hiding codes in pictures. And like I said, when I'm in a museum, I used to live at the museum in Denver. And that's why when I see people talking about Forrest Fenn at the museum, it's like I can really relate that because I would go there, I would go to work and I'd finish work and I'd go to the museum and stay at the museum for a couple hours. And then Saturday morning would come and I'd be there when they open, and I would go in the museum and I'd be there for 5 or 6 hours. I'd take my girlfriend there. I would sign up because they have after hour things where like you could spend the night in the museum, and I would do stuff like that. I mean, that museum was like my second home, and I know everything there is to know about the Denver Museum. And man, I used to love that. But I would go there and I would see displays and stuff, and I'd be like, anytime I see a non-repeating pattern, it automatically goes, oh, there's a code there. And it's just something I can't get away from. Even like I got Tinkerbell pictures that have non-repeating codes, and I'm like, or non-repeating patterns, and I'm like, there's a code there. and it's so hard to get away from it. It's almost like an obsession with me. And so when I write a code, it's very logical. It's very solvable. It's very there's rules. If you don't follow rules, it's not a proper code. And why did I leave Denver? I just saw that pop up there. My family is here in Iowa. When I moved to Denver, the very first thing I got an email from my daughter that she was pregnant. And I was like, oh, I just moved away from there and now you're pregnant. And then I got an email from my other daughter that she was pregnant. And so both my daughters actually gave birth like 3 days apart. They were in the hospital together. And I felt really bad that I missed that. And then my son got married and I was still in Denver, and he actually eloped. And so he went to a place in California. He eloped and he stopped and saw me in Denver. And I'm like, I'm missing this. I got like 4 grandkids in Iowa, and my daughter lived in a duplex, and the other duplex was empty, and it was in a bad part of town. She begged me. She's like, come back to, live in this duplex. And at the time, the school I was working at got shut down by the state because it was really shady. And I could tell you stories about this school. But yeah, the school was totally shady. And I finally caught up with them because I worked at a college for many years. And as soon as I started working for the school, I'm like, I predicted on my first week, I said, this school is going to be shut down by the state. And when it finally did, my daughter wrote me an email. She said, I rented the place next door. You need to come home. So I thought, well, fine. It was like, and the funny thing was, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-story house with a full basement. And it was less than half of the rent I was paying in Denver. And I'm like, fine, I'll come back. So I came back and, because I missed my grandkids. I did come back for their birth and stuff, but no, I was missing my grandkids growing up, my kids getting married. So I moved back to be with them. In fact, this studio apartment is in the basement of my daughter's house. My daughter lives upstairs. In fact, she was texting me going, who the hell are you talking to? So, yeah, I moved back just because it was just a coincidence. The school closed. My daughter's duplex opened up. She was begging me to come back. My son's wife was pregnant, and I thought, yeah, it's about time I move back. And anyway, why is my channel not Star Thinker? Because I was actually trying to get away from the name Star Thinker, and when I took my last tour, I was visiting Valentine, Nebraska, and I was also going to visit the Goose Creek area, and I just called it Valentine Goose because all I was going to do was document this trip that I was taking, and then it ended up being a whole channel, so I just stuck with it. Valentine Goose is brand new. It's every video I see here. The first video here was the first video I did under Valentine Goose. So it was strange because Valentine, Nebraska, there's a lot of pischels there, and I didn't realize this. And when I went there, I went to a graveyard called Pischel Cemetery, and one of the gravestones had a picture of a pischel, and it's me. I swear to God, it looks identical. And in fact, I took a picture of it and I sent it to my sisters. I said, who is this? And they said, that's you. And on this grave was a bottle of whiskey. And I swear to God, I sat there for hours. I drank this whiskey in the cemetery. I mean, if there's any doubt that they're related to us, that doubt is gone because every pischel in that cemetery looked identical to me. And it was just the funniest thing ever. And that was the Valentine part of Valentine Goose. And Goose Creek, Iowa, or Goose Creek, Colorado, forgive me, I've been drinking a lot, is where I love to go. That's my hiking spot. That's where I love to go. There's the I call it the Tri-Rock. It's a big giant rock that's split into 3 places. I've camped there numerous times. I've hiked there. I've climbed cliffs there. It's my favorite place to go. So Valentine Goose. And I also did some other things there. Like I said, I verified all the clues were still there. I verified the prize was still there. I in fact, over here on the wall, you can't see it, but I stole a street sign. But yeah, there's a street sign I've always wanted, and I finally got the nerve up to steal that. And boy, there's a lot of people in chat. Is there a way to see how many people are in chat? I don't even see anything on here. Are you guys doing poker right now? I tell you, I'm the biggest loser in poker because I bet big and I bet on chances. I take risks like no other, and so I always lose at poker. Covert won. Yes, the Beacon Star. I got 5,000, and 5,000 to me, I mean, if somebody wins it, I just withdraw that from my account. The coin, like I said, is still in Denver. The actual cash is still in Denver, but I'm not really worried about that. $1 per book, yes, and like I said, I have yet to sell 300 books. One of the reasons, and this is funny, and you're all going to laugh at me, but one of the reasons I wanted Forrest Fenn's Treasure to be found was that would put more of a spotlight on my book, and then I could sell more copies. But one of the ideas I had, and I actually got this idea from Michael Stather, is that if you added $1 for every book, like at first, like I said, 300 books ain't nothing. $300 ain't nothing. That's nothing. But if this hunt goes on for 10 years, I might sell 10,000 copies. That's $10,000. And then people will say, hey, there's a treasure hunt worth $10,000. And then you sell more, and it might be worth $20,000. Anyway, it was just an idea, and I didn't think this would ever take off. Again, it's been many, many years, and it's hardly ever taken off. But maybe if Forrest Fenn is out of the way, maybe someone will pay attention to my book. And then, if the more, like I said, the more copies that are sold, the higher the prize, the more people might look at it. So that was just an idea I had. So yes, and Amazon, because Amazon is technically the publisher, and they send me reports every month. And like I said, worldwide, I've sold about 290 some copies. It's funny. Coronavirus. Yeah, I'm talking too much. I mean, this, I don't know how much, because I've been mixing this with soda, so like, I don't know. I had that bottle for months and months. I'm not supposed to drink, but here I am. And actually, I mixed this with this really horrible generic grape soda. And grape soda and rum sounds awful, but it's really very good, and I love it. That's kind of my go-to drink. What's even better is cream soda and rum. I mean, that's fantastic. I'll drink that all day long. Yeah, I hope the Forrest Fenn. And my solve is so simple and so smooth and so elegant. I just can't wait. And I might, in fact, I thought about renting a car because I can't wait for my car to get fixed and going out there. But then everything is so locked down, and this is horrible. I don't want to be on the road and get pulled over by a cop, and I don't know. Calazar's mentioned the last Key of Solomon. That was another thing I did. I did that for fun. A lot of people look at my first code and they can't solve it, but they don't realize that the second code tells you how to solve the first code. So, I don't know. Better watch out if Forrest chest is found. You can bet that Douglas Preston will be the next to hide a chest. Douglas Preston. Somebody will. I mean, there's big hunts out there. I thought this was going to catch on when Michael Stather did his book. I'm surprised his book isn't with my pile of books. But yeah, I mean, when I was doing Michael Stather's book, it was like I was at work, and this was back when I worked at the charity. I came into work and it was a slow work day, and I opened the book up and I solved the riddle for the snail, and it said Adida State Park, Iowa. I thought, Iowa? I live in Iowa. And so I called it was like maybe noon, and my son gets out of school at 3, and he was kind of working on the book with me. So I had to wait till 3 o'clock, and I actually went to pick him up at school, and I said, hey, do you want to go with me to get the snail? And it's a good thing I brought him because he is the one that found the snail, and I will never forget that. And I had given up at that point. I said, let me go turn the truck around, and we'll leave. And when I turned the truck around, he was like going like this. And he had found the snail, and I was just so impressed with that. And that's why I think Forrest Fenn's treasure is going to be buried, because when the snail is actually the first thing Michael Stather hid, and he just threw it in a tree trunk, and it had been buried. He knew it'd be probably have debris on it, but he didn't realize it'd be buried several inches down. And a lot of hunters had searched the same tree, but they just kind of wiped the surface. And my son actually dug a little bit and found it. And that's why I think after 10 years, Forrest Fenn's treasure is going to be covered with pine needles and leaves and debris. And it might not be visible to the naked eye. You might need a metal detector. You might need to brush away the stuff to find it. So I think it won't be visible to the naked eye, that you might have to dig for it. What else am I missing here? I don't know. Calzars, we're not brothers, no. Yeah, you guys are just chatting now. This thing was given to me by my niece. She called me one day and says, hey, I found this in Antique Mall. You interested? And I said, well, how much? She goes, $10. And I looked it up, and they were worth about $200, $300. I said, yeah, you might want to buy that for $10. And she bought it, and surprise, surprise, she shipped it to me. So I've ended up with it's Don Juan. It's a very intricate carving, and I love it. I can't give it up. What else? This is my ancestors, John and Priscilla, and that's the story of my life, Unrequited Love. I still think I'm looking at Covert One, talking about code and cipher searchers. I still think there's a code somewhere. Might not be. He was an older gentleman who just hit it, and I think he did it kind of because he's kind of egotistical, and he wanted to be remembered. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just like he wanted to be remembered. So I don't know, but when he said he spent 15 years on the poem, and when I read the poem, I'm like, what about this poem took 15 years to write? And that made me always wonder if there was a code in there. And believe me, I have broken this poem apart. I have graphs on it. I have papers on it. I have picked out every letter, and I cannot find a code in it. So I might be wasting my time, but 15 years on this. And then to use a phrase like Terry Scan, because I Googled Terry Scan, the only place that comes up is Forrest Fenn pages. And it just boggles my mind that he would use a phrase like that. That is not a phrase a normal person would use. It's just like he had to use that for a reason. He needed a TS. He needed that many letters. I don't know, but that just, I don't know. I wish I could go June 1st. I might, like I said, it's really cheap to rent a car, and I have a corporate discount. I might just rent a car and go to my site, because, man, I love my site. And there's a place in the book where he literally spells out my site, and that just made me more excited. When I finally got the book and read it, I'm like, oh my God, that's my site. Yeah, I gave out one secret code I found. It's funny because I I wrote down all the drop caps and I was looking at it and I put it through an anagram generator and yeah, I did a 1-minute video on that. Yeah. You guys are talking about child support. Who said something about personality? Anyway, this has been fun. Like I said, this was just a test. I only did it to see if my camera is like slightly out of focus, so there's that. And man, I drank a lot tonight. And I was sitting in Toby's chat and just going, wow. I was supposed to do a video, explain about the gold coin and the 300 books. And I thought, well, I'll just do a live one. And suddenly a lot of people jumped into chat. And I was really surprised by that. Yeah. What else did I find in the book? I know the searcher tonight, Toby's chat was, I don't know what he was talking about, but there's an image in the book he said he overlaid on the map and it pointed to certain things. I don't know. This is an expensive book. I mean, each page is glossy. Each page has a background. I mean, if you look at the background, I mean, it's almost like aged paper, but it's glossy and new. I don't think he would do anything that would make you cut up the book, that would make you cut out a page and overlay it on a computer screen. I just can't imagine that. I think I paid $53 for this, and some of that was shipping, $40-some for the book. And at first I was like, God, why is that book so expensive? But then I get the book, and I mean, this is, as far as books go, this is a top quality book, and I love it. It's, I mean, if you look at some of these other, like this would be an expensive book to print because you got the different, it's a different shape, and that's going to cost you a lot more money. It's all full of illustrations. Illustrations cost more money. So yeah, I thought when I finally got the book, I was like, okay, this book is worth $43. Another thing that got me thinking about this, I know I joked about this in chat tonight on Toby's channel, but I honor books, and I've taught my grandkids. I've seen my grandkids like tear a page out of a book, and I chastise them for them. I think books are precious. So I will say this right now. There's nothing in my book that you have to tear out or anything because I honor books. So if you think you got to tear out a page in my book, you don't have to do that. I wouldn't do that to anybody. Stay healthy. When the coronavirus first hit, I was sick for a week. I did a video on it because, man, I had every symptom, and I was in bed for like a week. I couldn't breathe. I was coughing. I had the high fever. And at the time, Iowa had 0 tests for coronavirus. And I don't know if I had it. Everyone keeps telling me, no, you didn't have it. But, man, but when I finally got over that, I have been trying to stay healthy. I've been wearing my mask. Iowa was one of the few states that didn't have a lockdown, and I swear to God, when I went to the store today to get jalapenos, and it was crowded, with people not wearing masks and doing. I mean, it's just like nothing has changed here, and it's just bizarre. I can't imagine. My friend is in Sioux City, Iowa, that's locked down, and she won't leave her apartment. And of course, I have friends in Denver that's locked down, and New York City, which is locked down. God, I can't imagine. I was going to do a joke video because I was like, I wonder what happened if I did a joke video where I spill lemon juice on the book, and I did a joke video on Michael Stather's book where I solved a clue and it said something like vote for Al Gore. And I caught a lot of slack for it because I'm a jokester. But yeah, I don't want to ruin my book, and I've already paid a lot of money for it. So let's see what's in the chat. I suppose everyone's going to be leaving for poker soon. I was a poem purist. I still think if you just had the poem, you could solve this. Oh yeah, helping. See, we're having, and this is another thing. We're supposed to be in lockdown, and my daughter said, "Hey, let's have a Mother's Day celebration." So, like, all 4 of my kids are going to be here. My 2 sons are married, and they're going to bring their wives because they're mothers. And my son-in-law's mother is coming, so we're going to have a lot of people here tomorrow. At first, I made this big cheese ball. God, I had some tonight, and it was freaking delicious. And one of the things I'm known for is my jalapeno poppers, and so I had to buy jalapenos to make jalapeno poppers. I bought an ungodly amount of them, so I'm going to spend all morning making jalapeno poppers. Yeah, I'd love to play poker. Like I said, I'll be the first one eliminated. There's no blue wrench in here. Nope. Swear all you want. There wasn't much of a lockdown here in Iowa. I mean, they closed restaurants. A lot of stores shortened their hours. Because I got off work at 7 a.m. and I used to stop at the store. Our Walmart, our Hy-Vee used to be 24-hour stores, and they closed, and now they only open 9 to 9. And when I get off work at 7, of course, I can't just go to the store anymore. And a lot of them reopened 8 to 9 for senior citizens only. And I know I'm 60, but I don't fall into that category. Oh, my poppers. Oh, I love my poppers. And the last time I made them, I made like 50, and I probably ate half of those. I make my poppers not hot. I take all the seeds out. So they're like savory, they're flavorful, and they don't burn your mouth. I think that's why people love mine. We bought some at the store a couple weeks ago, and man, you couldn't take a bite of them, and they were burning your tongue. And I'm like, people they only bought like 12 at the store, and people only ate like 6 because they were so hot. Probably like mine savory, so. I think I talked too much tonight. I probably talked more than I was. I'm sure Kyle Lazars is already like writing up a forum post or something. In the forum, I don't think I can see, apparently. If you want to... Yeah, 60 is the new 40, I think. I don't feel 60. I lived through a lot of stuff, though. I lived through... I was stationed at RAF Bentwaters when the UFOs went down, and to me, that was like, that really opened my eyes to how paranormal events are reported as opposed to how they are really go down in real life. And I've spoken out against the Bentwaters incident, but it's blown up, and people have made up so many stories that when I talk about it, people don't even believe what I say anymore. Oh, something got retracted, but it wasn't me. Yeah, I can't wait to make my poppers tomorrow. Oh, I'll probably eat half of them. And the cheese ball I made, I had a roommate who was a cook, and she actually went to school to be a cook, and she taught me a lot of things I didn't know before. And I was like, hey, what's a good hors d'oeuvre I can make tomorrow? She says, make one of my cheese balls. My cheese balls are famous. And she sent me this recipe, and oh, God, it's so good. I was at Bentwaters in 1980, and the big event went down in 1979. I knew some of the people that was involved that saw the UFOs, and they were like, they didn't think it was anything at the time. Some of the people who told me to my face that nothing happened are now the people that are saying that they saw writing and they saw lights and they saw molten stuff drip down, and it's just day and night. It's just unbelievable. And no, there's a recording, and I can't find the recording these days, but there was a recording of Colonel Halt talking into a tape recorder. So there's no video. It's just a voice recording. But he was like, "There it is. Oh, it's gone again. Oh, wait, there it is. Oh, it's gone again." And if you time those, it times perfectly to the lighthouse at Orford. And I used to hang out at the lighthouse at Orford, and if they're at night, and that same night, a satellite from Russia re-entered the Earth's orbit over England. So they think it was a combination of the satellite re-entering, and that's what people think the molten look was, because they said that something flew through the sky and dropped things. And then when they went to the woods to investigate this, because that probably looked closer than it was, and then he saw the light, and they think that was the light from Orford. But that's all it was. That's literally all it was. And then now, if you look at it, Colonel Halt is talking about seeing UFOs and trees getting cut down. And God, it's just so fascinating to know people that were there and then see their stories now. And it's a total different story now. It's crazy. And yes, I worked on nuclear weapons at RAF Bentwater, so I had one of the highest security clearances. I used to have to write reports that got read by Ronald Reagan, who was president at the time. I've had my hands inside nuclear weapons. We used to do simulated destruction of nuclear weapons. I mean, everything that was nuclear weapons, I did it. And so I did get to talk to a lot of these people. I've even made up my own stories about RAF Bentwaters, and I've only seen it posted once, but I guess everyone else is making up stories. I made up a story, but and then there's one guy who said since then he could write code with his hand and he can't decipher it. He's just like scribbling. He's like, "This is the code." And he was one of the guys that said, "Hey, I was out there and hey, it was a light in the sky, and that was all it was." So you can see that someone who just saw lights in the sky is now saying he writes codes. It's just bizarre. I can give you the access to the secret area. I don't know what you mean by that. Rendlesham Forest. I used to hang out in Rendlesham Forest. That is the coolest place I've ever been. I'll tell you, I've had a paranormal experience in Rendlesham Forest. Rendlesham Forest is oak trees. They're big as houses. I mean, the trunks are as big as houses, and it's one of the oldest forests in England. And it wasn't on my way to base because I live further out than any other American. But if I took the long way to base, I could drive through Rendlesham and come to the back gate. And Rendlesham Forest is just freaking awesome. It's like you're back in time. And one time I was driving through Rendlesham Forest and this thing flew at my car, and I swear to God its wingtips were wider than the road. And it flew over my car, and I had literally stopped in the middle of the road and got out and looked, and I couldn't see anything. But God, that is the coolest forest, and it's just so old and ancient, and like there's moss hanging from the trees. If you ever get a chance, Rendlesham Forest is very well worth the visit. And also, next to Rendlesham Forest is a pine forest that was planted by humans. So all the pine trees are evenly spaced, and they're in perfect rows. And that's where they thought the UFO came down. So it's not in the Rendlesham Forest itself, but around the base are these perfectly planted pine trees. But no, I don't think it was a UFO. I've seen with my own eyes UFOs at Bentwaters, and I've had to come to terms with it. I still have nightmares about it. But I looked up. I'll tell you the story right now. I was on night shift, and I was on a forklift, and I had driven out to the bomb dump, and I was the first one there. So I probably had about 15 minutes to wait for someone else. And I looked up, so I was looking at the constellations because when I was in college, I took a astronomy course. So I was trying to see if I could remember my constellations, and there was this perfect triangle. And I was like, what constellation had a perfect triangle in it? And this triangle turned, it started turning. And I thought, what the fuck? And then the 4 points of the triangle went out to the horizon. And I followed one light out, and I quickly looked at the other light, and it disappeared over the horizon. And I looked back at the first light, and it disappeared over the horizon. And I know I will never have an explanation for that. I will never know what that was. And again, probably monthly, I'll have a nightmare about the stars swirling in the sky, but I'll never know what that was. And it just was a coincidence that it happened on Bentwaters. Man, I have no idea what that was. But yeah, that's one of the that's one of the paranormal events I've experienced. Jack, I'm not sure what you mean about Colonel Halt's live recording. Very believable. I mean, if you listen to it, and I can't remember where I saw it because this was like back before the internet. It was an actual TV documentary. They played the recording, and while they played the recording, someone was standing in Rendlesham with a camera pointed towards Orford. And they played the recording, the Orford light would come around, and that's when Colonel Halt, there it is again, So it was perfectly timed, and there's no doubt in my mind. They saw the satellite re-entered, alerted everyone, and went out in the woods and saw the lighthouse, and that's what I'm thinking. I'll tell you another story about Bentwaters. We discovered that we had Motorola radios, and someone had discovered that they were sitting on guard duty one night, and they'd set their radio on a Coke machine. And somebody called him, and he keyed the mic on the radio and answered them. And when he keyed the mic, it scrambled the Coke machine. It delivered one Coke and gave 45 cents change. So word spread of this. And so everyone was walking around base with a radio because we all had these radios. And you could put it down by a Coke machine, key the mic, and it would deliver one Coke and 45-cent change. Well, Coke came in and discovered all their machines were empty and there was no change in them. And they did an investigation, and people actually got discharged with dishonorable discharges for that. A whole flight of security guards got demoted because they all knew about it, but they didn't report it. I mean, it was a big, big scandal. We call it the Coke machine scandal. And every time I've seen these Motorola radios like on eBay and stuff, and I wonder if I can get one of those. You can still scramble a Coke machine with those. And then they came through and they modified all the Coke machines. George Ward, my hunt was designed based on Michael Stather's notes. And Michael Stather was very surprised that everyone shared everything online. And I do believe in boots on the ground. I do believe in real world locations to get people out and about and to make it feel like a real treasure hunt. But I also believe that people who do boots on the ground will share that information. And so if you have enough Google foo, you might be able to find the information that the real world locations are about. And maybe you can solve it. But the token is in the real world, and you have to display the token to get the prize. And I don't think, if you email me the solve, I don't answer any emails. I don't give out my emails. So I don't get very many, but I do get a lot of messages on Facebook and YouTube, and I do not answer any of them. The token itself will give you instructions on how to contact me, and so far no one's contacted me with that. So it's possible, like I said, I believe everyone will share everything. It's just inevitable. It's human nature. And a lot of things have been shared, but not everything. So, given enough time, I believe you can solve it from home. At the moment, I've yet to see every single clue solved, so I don't know. I'm not going to say where the token is. Cowlazars. It's somewhere in the Denver area. That's all I'll say. Everyone knows that by now, I guess. And before I did this, almost none of the plaques could be found online. I just knew that people would share them. So now most of them are online due to the Beacon Star. So not all of them are online yet, but I believe they will be. It's funny because one of my locations was, and I tried to pick locations that would be around for a long, long time. And I did have a contingency plan if any locations got destroyed for whatever reason, because I took numerous pictures of every location. If any location got destroyed for any location, I would just post, here's that location, but that hasn't happened yet. But one of my locations did get destroyed. And I thought, oh, crap. And it got destroyed probably within months of me publishing the book. But they restored it to completely 100% of what it was. And so I didn't have to do anything. I love the Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci. I used to study, in fact, in my books over here, I have a lot of books on the chaos theory. I just love the chaos theory. And I used to work at a nuclear power plant. And part of the chaos theories predicts how the steam comes out of the towers. And so I would sit there and I would stare at the towers, and I'm like, I could see this happening in the steam coming out of the towers, and I just love that. So yeah, I did include it. And the Fibonacci sequence is one of the sequences that is prevalent in nature, and it's just so cool. I don't know if I should. Well, there's a show, I think it's on Netflix or Hulu, one or the other, but it's called The Code. And I think it's just 3 episodes or 4 episodes. If you haven't watched that, watch that. That is one of the coolest documentaries I've ever seen. And it's based on my life, basically. But it's an English documentary based on math and nature. And I've watched it probably 6 times. And every time I watch it, I'm like, God, that is so beautiful. That is the coolest thing ever. So it's called The Code. And, but yeah, if you watch that, everything in life is a mathematical sequence. Calazars knows I'm drunk and I'm out. I think I have some old grape juice left. Let me see. And I love grape juice. And usually it's never bad, but this generic stuff I bought is awful. That's why I was mixing it with the rum. Yeah, the rum is wearing off. Like I said, I have a hard time getting drunk and staying drunk. I don't think I have in my life, I've never passed out from alcohol. I've never thrown up from alcohol, and I've out drank people at parties and stuff. It's just the way I am. And rum and vodka are my go-to. I do have a bottle of wine up here, but I'm kind of loath to drink wine. I do like wine at dinner and stuff, but I don't want to just drink wine just to drink it. And plus, I used to live with an alcoholic, so I had to get rid of all my stuff. And for a long time, I didn't have any alcohol in the house. So it's rare that I do drink these days, and I just happen to have this bottle, and I don't know. See, Collins ours is trying to trick me because he wants me to say, I don't even want to say it. The names in the book are totally made up. And most of the times when I have to think of a name in any of my stories, because like in Three Men in a Tub, I got 3 main characters and then 30 secondary characters and then 255 aliens. And I literally pulled all those names out of a cemetery. I went to the cemetery and I looked at stones and I just pulled names off of them. A long time ago, I wrote a story about a mythical land, and one of the characters is named Putnam. And I mean, this is like back in high school, I wrote the story. So Putnam was always a name that I'm like, if I ever write a story somewhere, somehow, I got to have a guy named Putnam. And I have drank Everclear, but I did get a buzz off it. But, you know, again, I don't get drunk. I have had absinthe. God, that's the worst tasting stuff ever. It's like black licorice in liquid form. I did not have any hallucinations, and I did not pass out. Beer, I don't like beer. I used to drink. It's funny because when Zima first came out, I loved Zima. I didn't get a buzz off of it, but I loved it. And people made fun of me constantly. And they still make fun of me. In fact, I don't know if you can see it on camera. Somewhere on my shelves, I have a bottle of Zima that I keep. It's sealed. It's still a bottle of Zima. And I keep it just for old time's sake. They don't make bottles. Like the last time they made Zima again, but with different bottles. It just wasn't the same. But then they made like a throwback to Zima with the same bottles. And I bought a bunch of cases of that. But when Zima finally went out of production, I saved my last bottle. Yes, the knickknacks in my house. Over here is a shelf. I used to own a pottery shop with my brother, and we used to make mass-produced pots and dish sets and all kinds of stuff. And we'd work on those throughout the winter and stock up. And then in the summer, we would hit, art fairs and stuff. And, we worked a lot with clay. And I would make creatures out of the clay because my brother would make dragons, and I used to always try to imitate his dragons, and I just couldn't. So I just made other creatures. So a lot of the creatures in my book, I just envisioned them. I don't know if I can get one. But yeah, I would imitate my brother. And the Gons, of course, I don't describe them the same, but like, they're basically giant heads with arms and legs. And this one is like 30 years old, so he's missing his toes and fingers. And then I made like a different kind of Gons that was more of a creature than a person. He's still got his spikes. This is one that has survived the years. He's only missing a toe, whereas this guy's missing arms and legs. But yeah, I just would make these over the course of the winter when we had extra clay left over. And like we didn't have enough to make pots and pans and stuff. And I'd make creatures. But I have a whole shelf over here full of these things. Yeah, laughing Zima. I love Zima. I loved it. It was like Sprite with alcohol in it. Oh, my cat's going crazy. Schlitz. I remember, I'm old enough to remember people doing Oh God, what was it? They used to drive across the Mississippi to get. Oh, what's the name of that beer? I can't remember. Let me Google. Why is it not coming up? You think this would be the first thing? Coors, I think it was. Coors run. I still remember, like, because we lived in Michigan, you couldn't get Coors in Michigan. People would do a Coors run. And I'm like, wow. Where is my Zima bottle? Not that I want to drink it, but it's like, where the heck is it? I thought it was right there. It's over here somewhere. See, I used to live in a 4-story, 5-bedroom house that was a Victorian house. I lived there with my 4 kids and my wife. And when I got divorced, I got custody of the house, and my wife just moved out and she left everything. And when I moved to Denver, I moved into a 450 square foot apartment. And so I literally had to whittle down everything I owned. And then when I moved, I was in Denver and I moved from a 450 square foot apartment to a 500 square foot apartment. Um, and then I left and I came back here. I moved into a 5-bedroom house again, which was the duplex next to my daughter. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 5 bedrooms. And how you doing? Oh, and then I moved here, which is a studio. So I learned to expand and contract everything I own. So everything on my shelf are the last things that mean a lot to me. Coors, yeah. Ugh. Everyone in Denver hates Coors, by the way, just so you know. I never met anyone in Denver that was like, "Oh yeah, let's have a Coors." No, they hate it. I mean, Denver is full of microbreweries, and everyone drinks whatever their local beer is. And by local, I mean like within 5 blocks of their house. Yeah, I wish I could move the camera around. I'd show you my whole place. This wall is about 25% of my house. And everything, when I moved to Denver, like I said, I had a ton of money. I moved into an apartment and I went to IKEA and I spent probably, I think I spent like $8,000 at IKEA. And I furnished my entire apartment from IKEA. So like all these shelves are IKEA, this couch is IKEA, this table's IKEA, my desk is IKEA, all my bookshelves are IKEA. I just went in there and just had a field day, and I had it delivered, and I spent maybe 2 days setting everything up. I love putting things together, so that was fun. So yeah, I'm an IKEA fan. And then my apartment was so small that everything is designed like this table is designed to sit on, and these big fat arms on my couch are designed to sit on. And I had uh, these chairs and night tables, and they were designed so like my whole apartment was designed that it didn't look like one person lived there, but if I had 10 people over, they at least had places to sit. Yeah, like IKEA, people badmouth IKEA, and it was kind of expensive, but the nearest IKEA to me right now is in Minneapolis. But there's some things like this table was like $12. and I've had it for years and years now, probably a decade. And you can see, like, this is where I live, and you can see where I've worn it out living on it. It's funny. Um, but I do everything at this table. When I lived alone, I would eat at this table. Of course, I live with my daughter now, so I do a lot of eating upstairs. But everything I do at this table. And I've literally worn out this edge. And if you pull it back, you can see where I flipped it around and wore out the other edge. But yeah, I used to go there quite a bit and look around. A lot of my kitchen appliances are IKEA. These are, I used to know the name of them, but even Walmart carries these shelves now. But I have 4 of them, and every cubby is full of stuff that has a story behind it. I think I did that because someone mentioned in a comment to one of my videos, says you need to stop talking about yourself. Like, so in my next video I talked about myself. I like, someone's talking about wine cooler. I used to like the what were they, the little vodka coolers. I used to like those too, but again, just a drink. I've already lost my buzz from drinking half a bottle of rum. Oh, I think a lot of people went to the wherever they're playing poker. Come here, Phoebe. Phoebe. Where I pulled my books out, that's where Phoebe's living now. This is the one I want to solve because I think this is still out there. I think he's mentioned, I think the author has said that this is still solvable. I don't know about this one. I haven't looked up on this one much in the late. This one I think is expiring soon. We know that's on an island in Maine, is it? And I just don't get to Maine, so I never thought about it. Oh, this one's crazy. I don't know. And I have a whole bunch more over there. Yeah. I'm not going to dig those out. I'm looking. All my bookshelves are like stacked with books, and there's books on top. And I'm not going to pull out any more books. I know Calazars is like trying to get me to give more information. I like the Whistle Pig. I like some of the stories in the Whistle Pig. My cat is going to be in trouble shortly. What are you doing? Get down from there. Oh, what else? K-Pro gave away hints to what? Oh. I bet you'd all love to get your hands on my proof copy. Ooh. But you can see where, like, I went through to check things, and there's like check marks on the pages and stuff I've circled and gone back to and made sure everything works. I mean, I went through this with such a fine-tooth comb, and I got my first copy. I don't have it, but the cover came back black, and I call it my black copy. And I went through, and I spent probably a year on my black copy making sure everything worked, because I wanted to make sure there was no. Someone had sent me a treasure hunt, and I pointed out to them, like, there's a part in here where like it doesn't work. And you're like, well, people have to guess at this. I'm like, yeah, but you realize there's like 10,000 things they could guess at. If they have to do that, it's not going to work. You have to, everything has to have a rule. Everything has to have a reason. It's like, I'd never liked that. There's no guessing. If you have to guess, it's not a treasure hunt. And that's why I always wondered about Forrest Fenn. Is there anything in his book you have to guess at? And I just can't imagine there is, because once you put a guess in your book, it's no longer solvable. And I truly believe that. $100? Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's worse than the rum. Oh, there's a bidding war going on, but no, it's not for sale. And whenever I have to do something, I pull that book out because I'll write down in that book. This is the book I took with me to Denver. I was kind of checking off all the world things. Yeah, that was fun. Jason, if you're coming through Iowa, the best thing I can recommend is a stop in South Bend. South Bend, Iowa has one of the 7 wonders of the world in it. No one believes me. But yeah, the Grotto of the Redemption is one of the most fantastic places I've ever been. I go there several times a year. Even when I lived in Denver, I would come back just to visit the Grotto of the Redemption. So yeah, if you're coming through Iowa, don't visit me. Go to South Bend, and you will never regret it. I did a video. It wasn't a video. It was a essay about the Grotto of the Redemption. But I love the Grotto. I donate to the Grotto. It's one of the few places I donate to. It's been vandalized a lot in recent years, and I just don't know how they can stop the vandalism. But yeah, South Bend, Iowa is the most. It's one of the largest collections of crystals in the world, and I call it one of the 7 wonders of the world. Shadowcaster, I don't hunt. My dad used to force me to hunt when I was a kid, and I hated it. I don't hunt or fish. I will just go to the store and buy meat. Oh man, we used to own a private pond that was just full of bass, and I loved eating the bass. And then my dad and me and my brother and my brother-in-law, we had a cabin boat, and we would go out on Lake Michigan in salmon season, which is late in the year. It was always kicked off. I was in the band, so we'd always wait till homecoming. After the homecoming dance, I would go with my father and my brother, and we would go live on the boat for probably 3 or 4 days and do salmon fishing. And my dad could make the best things out of the salmon meat. And I didn't mind salmon fishing, but man, I don't like anything else. Kryptos is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. 3 of the 4 Kryptos has been solved. The 4th one, I mean, some of the best minds in the world has worked on that, and I believe it's a multi-layered cipher, and so you're gonna have to solve one cipher and then solve that cipher to solve the cipher. And doing that, I haven't studied the first 3. I think if I studied the first 3, I might have a little bit of a shot at the 3rd one, but no. Actually, we just bought a cow. In Iowa, the meat packing plants have closed down, so all the farmers are stuck with all this beef they can't feed. and so they're selling it. And to support one of the local farmers, we bought a cow. My all my kids chipped in on it. I think we paid like I think for half of it we paid $600, and yeah, that was we're gonna fill a freezer up. But yeah, that's a big thing here in Iowa. Are the meat packing plants? The governor wants to reopen them. They themselves don't want to reopen because they don't think it's safe. Farmers have all this cattle that they can't feed, and if they can't feed it, they're going to have to put them down. It's just a big thing here. Yeah, and the crypto. I do have a book somewhere on the cryptos, and I've looked at it, but I don't. To me, I don't know. It's not steganography. It's more of a mathematical code, and I'm not into the mathematical codes as much as I am into the stenography. Fandango. I did Fandango. I spent months on this when it first came out. Um, but knowing that I would never get to Maine, I kind of just let it fall by the wayside. And the grotto, yes, it is I mean, it's religious. I'm not religious at all. And when I went there fully intending to make fun of it. And I was humbled. I mean, there are crystals there as big as I am, and I've never seen crystals that big before. And the whole place is built out of crystals, and I just was awed. And instead of making fun of it, I now proclaim it to be one of the 7 wonders of the world. And I go back whenever it's like 80 miles from me, and I'll bet you I go back 3 or 4 times a year. I do study other hunts, but just because I study codes and stuff doesn't mean I can solve other people's codes. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't know what Jenny's second book is. Oh, what's Mike asking? Someone said, "Be careful, Mike." I know Mike's like asking me questions. I'm telling you, I should tell you my solve because it's a solve that it's funny because my solve when I Google it, I find lots and lots of people have gone to the place I want to go, but that was years ago, and I can't find any recent people that have gone there. And because like it was explained away, people said, "Well, it's not going to be there because that's not where Forrest Fenn wanted to go." And there's like reasons why it wouldn't be there, but a lot of people have had the same solve and went there, and it was about that time. There was something I noticed about that time. What was it? He did something about that time. That was like when the first searcher passed away, and he narrowed the search area down. And when he did that, people stopped searching this area, and I don't know why. And I still think it's the perfect solve. I could, but I will tell you that he outright practically names the place in the book, and I just stumped that people see that and don't think that's the solve. I do plan, like I said, plan on going there. In fact, I got to go. I'll be back in a second. Michael. Michael. Oh, come here. Oh. This is Michael. Oh, he's a good one. You're my baby. There you go. I know I want it found, but I wouldn't mind finding it myself. I still can't believe people. There's a passage in there. When I read the passage, I was like, he spells it out in the passage. Yeah, you guys playing poker like right at this moment? I think the big one thing I do win at is euchre, but no one can ever. I mean, you have to have the right partner in euchre. Me and my partner were actually champions in euchre. I will say it's one of the later chapters. That's all I'll say. One of the later chapters in the book literally spells it out. And if I were to tell you, everyone will make fun of me. Hey, stop it, you guys. The cats are fighting again. If I tell you, people will literally make fun of me because it's a site that's been written out. People have gone there and people have been told that's not where it is. And if I tell you, you're going to tell me I'm stupid. And again, I only think I'm about 25% right. I don't believe I will ever find it, but I mean, it's my spot. I can't think of anything else. But when I finally got the book and I read it, I was like, it just confirmed, and it might be my own bias, but it just confirmed everything I knew. Should I narrow it down? He doesn't really number his chapters, but it's probably how many pages are in the book? It's this far into the book. There's 147 chapters. So it's within 30 chapters of the end of the book, or 30 pages within the end of the book. But he literally spells it out. And when I read that, and then I sent it to a friend, and they're like, a friend who doesn't care at all about the book. And when they read that, they're like, hey, that points to your solve. And I was like, I just wanted that confirmation. And the funny thing is, I think it was it Candy who had the fire hole? That was kind of her area. In fact, if I go, hey Alexa, where do warm waters halt?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Coursera.org. So there's a lot of water to warm up in the ocean.
Oh, and there, Alexa, stop. I had it used to say fire hole. It's saying something different now. But I mean, I was going to go out. I was going to visit the fire hall. I was going to visit my area. There's an area by Lake Hoboken. I can't remember the name of the lake. It's a dammed lake, though, and I know he said there was no dam in the Solve. But I was just going to visit 2 or 3 sites in that area, hopefully. But I was going to visit my site first. It's like an 18-hour drive from here. I can do 18 hours in my sleep. So I was going to drive out there and check it out. And then after I spent a few days, because I love camping, I love hiking, so I would do that anyway, and then drive down to Denver and pick up stuff in Denver. I don't live in Denver. I live in Iowa. And I always joke that I'm going to go to Ohio because that way I don't have to tell where my salt is. And I have like 8 YouTube accounts. So if you ever see anyone say, "Hey, I was searching in Ohio," that was probably me. Lake. What was the name of the lake? It's the big lake in Montana, I think, or Wyoming. The other question, maybe some of you guys can answer, like I've seen pictures like this and the picture on the back of the book. It always shows the front, the left side, and the top. Has anyone ever seen the right side and the back? I always wondered what the back of the chest looks like. And I wonder if that's something like, if there's something on the back of the chest. So like if I called Forrest Fenn today and said, "Hey, I found the treasure," would he say, "Hey, what's on the back of the box?" And I could tell him. And that way he could verify it. But I've been looking, I looked online, I could not find a picture of the back of the chest. And I asked that in chat tonight and everyone ignored me. So I also wondered about that where he talks about the bronze being cold, and I don't know. It's warm, but it's cold, so maybe that was a hint. Again, I don't think that was it. My area is north. It's in either Wyoming or Montana. Let me tell you a story about Montana. No, it was Idaho. When I did my tour of the states west of the Mississippi, I went through, I went up to Saskatchewan and I came back down and I visited. This is when planking was really big, so I did planking in front of Mount Rushmore. Everyone, it was funny because I was like one of 20 people planking in front of Mount Rushmore. So, and then I drove through Idaho. There's some places in Idaho I really had to visit. And I took, I don't know how many pictures, but I transferred probably 125,000 pictures from one hard drive to another. And I didn't realize they all didn't transfer. And I destroyed the old hard drive. It was going bad and it went bad. And I realized that my pictures from like the first half of my trip did not transfer. And I just was gobsmacked because I had gone to Craters of the Moon National Park and I'd explored a cave with a small flashlight. And I mean, it was just a very humbling and amazing experience for me. And to know I lost all those pictures and knowing that this amazing adventure is only up here in my mind, that really sticks with me. And so I've always wondered, like, if I found the treasure, what would I do? Would I take a lot of pictures? Would I just keep it up here? But yeah, that was a very humbling experience, losing all those pictures. Oh, the word that is key, it's right here in the book. There's the key, and it's next to the treasure. So the key word is treasure. It's that simple. Well, I think we're winding down. I do got to make like 120 poppers in the morning. There's a sister chest. And you know what I was reading, I think it was in the book or it was in an interview where he said he paid $45,000 for the chest. And then he mentioned a different amount in another interview, but the one that stuck with me was $45,000. And, it's a bronze chest. It's obviously lined with wood on the inside. It's probably cedar, I would think. Boy, I don't know. I just can't see this being out there. See that some people are saying 25,000, but I swear he said 45,000 in an interview somewhere. But still, that's a lot for just the box. And I think if I found it, I don't know what I would do with it. I don't know if I would split it up or if I would sell it as a whole or if I would just see what the value was. Um, I'm at the age where I could probably retire on $5 million living in my studio apartment where I pay $400 a month. Olive wood. That makes sense. What are you doing? The cat is down here literally eating my books right now. Hey, no, stop. What are you doing? Enough's enough. Eat these books. Mike is a wild one. Where did Phoebe go? Phoebe, where'd my Phoebe? All the cats are all I have. Yeah, that's another reason why I moved back from Florida. I was paying $1,200 a month for 450 square feet, and they sold the building, and they said everyone had to move out. And it wasn't. I mean, there's probably a good 400 or 500 units in our building, and they told everyone to move out. And I mean, it was just like you couldn't get the elevator, you couldn't even get to the stairs. There was this constant furniture and boxes being moved down. Um, at the time, I had arcade machines, and I could not move arcade machines down the stairs. And I could not get the elevator. It was horrible. People were moving at midnight because that's the only time they could get the elevator. Um, and I moved into the 500 square foot place, and I was paying about $1,400 for that. And when I moved back to Iowa, and again, this was a 5-bedroom, 2-story with a full basement, duplex. It's on the National Register of Historic Places because it's a Frank Lloyd Wright inspired prairie home. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous place, and I was paying $550 a month for it. So I was paying less than half for, God, probably 10 times more room. And when I first moved in, I moved everything into one room. I was like, I could live in one room and have the whole rest of the house empty. And then when my daughter bought this house and it had this basement apartment, she says, hey, you need to move into my basement. I was like, fine. So I'm saving a lot of money living here. Oh. I think things are winding down. I might wind this down. Again, this was just supposed to be a test, and I was really drunk when I started this. I'm making a mess. Oh. Yeah, we have tornadoes in Iowa. There's a town north of here called Glenville. And before I moved to Denver, a tornado hit Glenville and literally wiped it off the map. Every building, every house, everything was gone. Glenville was gone, and they have completely rebuilt it. And I live where I drove, not to Glenville, but I drove away from there, and there was debris from Glenwood in this field where I was driving past. And man, if you've never seen the destruction of a tornado, it was just amazing. And I've been through there when they opened the road back up, and there was nothing but foundations. And it's really humbling to see that, and to see that they completely rebuilt that town. And it's amazing. And I don't think Mason City's ever been directly hit by a tornado. We've had tornadoes touch down in the forest outside. I've never seen a tornado with my own eyes, and I have gone tornado chasing, and I've just yet to see one. So I'll probably die in a tornado. I'll probably be like, hey, there's a tornado, and I'll go look, and I'll probably die there. But I am a chaser. When I hear about tornadoes, I will hop in my car and drive towards them because I've just never seen one in real life. And but I've seen the destruction they can do. Yeah, I bet it is scary. But it's funny because I wanted to. When I planned this trip to go boots on the ground, I was telling my friend, I said, wouldn't it be fun if I took this trip without taking any highways, just taking back roads, but turning my phone off and not using any maps, not using GPS, and just try to drive there from memory. And she freaked out and was like, no, you'll kill yourself. You'll get in an accident. You won't have your phone. You won't have a GPS. No one will know where you are. And it was kind of a humbling experience. And I'm like, I didn't see the big deal of it, but based on her reaction, I'm not going to do that. But I just love driving, and I love exploring, and I love the area between here and where I'm going. Northern Nebraska is just, you think of Nebraska as being this flat plains cornfield state, but northern Nebraska are these prairies that are just, I just can't explain it. And I went up there when I went on my Valentine Goose trip. I left Colorado and I went straight up through Nebraska, and it is just the most fantastic territory I've ever been through. And I have a friend who's Romanian, and she tours Europe every year. And she's like, well, why would you want to just stay in the States when you could go to Europe? I'm like, the States has amazing areas. The States is a big area. Europe is fine. And Europe has its things because it has old castles and stuff. But man, there's just as much variety here in the States as there is if you went anywhere in the world. And northern Nebraska was just amazing. And I think if I ever win this, I will buy land in northern Nebraska. It's funny because my sister inherited land in Florida, and she went down there to live, and she went through a hurricane. And after the hurricane passed, she moved back up to Michigan, and she's like, I will never live in Florida again. What's this about a hint? George Green. Oh, the easiest puzzle to solve. The easiest puzzle to solve. To me, they're all easy. I will tell you the easiest puzzle to solve. Well, the easiest one is already solved. That's this one. Can you see this? That one's already solved. I did that because there's layers in here. I made really easy puzzles so that people could solve them, and I made intermediary puzzles so that someone would have to think more, and then I made really hard puzzles so that you'd have to, learning from what you did on the first two puzzles, you could solve the third puzzles. Not that there's 1, 2, and 3. I forget how many puzzles are in this book, but I did layer it that way just to make it fun, just so that a beginner could solve puzzles and say, hey, I solved the puzzles. And so that was, and that's just one I thought, because there's the numbers and letters, and you count and you can make the thing out. And that was I think that was one of the easiest ones, and I'm pretty sure that's already been solved. Let me find it. I can't show you this one because I wrote the answer on it, but this is the easiest. This is the next easiest. But there is a puzzle that created a lot of controversy when it was an ebook. There are like 8 puzzles in one puzzle. So I did that so that people could solve the easy ones and maybe overlook the harder ones. So I'm giving away way too much. We won't re-upload over that. The one thing that'll help searchers reading my book is to read the history of steganography and codes. There are so many codes in this book. I did codes from history. I did codes from other people's books. I did codes that I made up myself. Probably about half of them I made up myself, but there's a lot of codes that were I said I paid homage to other books. There's a couple of Polybius squares in here. There's a couple. There's just all kinds of codes in here. But if you read the history of codes, and there's probably one of each code in here. So that is one thing I think will help. But yeah, there are layers, layers upon layers upon layers. That was embarrassing, but this is not a proof copy. This was pretty easy. I've seen online some people have already solved parts of this, so that must be pretty easy. So I hope that answers that. I don't know. I know that streams are like a lot of you guys do your live streaming, and then I have to leave for work, and so I don't get to see them. And when I get to work, I pull them up, and it's like you've only been over an hour, or you signed off a half hour or so, and the chat's not up yet. So it must take a while to process the chat, because like the next day I'll go in, and then the chat will be there. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but it does take longer for the chat to come up than for the video to come up. And I know on Toby's, there's some on Toby's, I go back and there's no chat at all, even though it's been up for a while. So I don't know how you would lose the chat. It's easy because I spell it out in the story. And I don't know how long after, because when I get to work, like I said, it's usually over about a half hour to an hour. So I don't know how long it takes for the chat to be over. I know some people chat after it's over for a little bit. Kind of giving out way too much information. He's just pounding me. No, there's no order. They're all mixed up. They're mixed up because I had to do text pages and illustration pages. So the illustration pages had to match up, and then the text pages had to match up. So that was just how it went. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just that's how publishing went. So they're all mixed up. Dave, I mean, this is a rarity because I don't like to talk about my book. I did not want to be Forrest Fenn and give out clues for the next 10 years. I did not want to be Michael Stather. He gave out clues that had never been solved because whenever he gave out a clue, he would do it in puzzle form. And some of those puzzles have never been solved. And I tried that once and I didn't care for it. I wanted people just to solve my book and not to come to me and get clues from me or my life. But I probably gave out way too much tonight. My favorite cipher? I made up some that I kind of like. Um, I don't know. I'd have a hard time answering that question. I know in the real world, when I was a little kid and I lived in, you know, I was probably about the time I learned how to read. My parents used to subscribe to Fate magazine and The Inquirer, which are two fantastic magazines. Not fantastic, but fantastic as in they wrote a lot of fiction that they claimed was true. But in one of them was the Beale ciphers. They printed the Beale ciphers out on a full page, and I cut the pages out. And I put them on my wall, and I swear I was in elementary school. So the Beale ciphers have always held and in the real world, they've always held a place in my heart, even though I know about 90% that they're fake and they were designed to make money. But I had a lot of fun playing with the Beale ciphers. They're still my favorite. Yeah, I shouldn't answer any more questions. What a boo. Yeah, I like Michael because he lets me pet him. Phoebe's over here giving me dirty looks. I have lots of scars from Phoebe, but no scars from Michael. Oh, the boo. Oh, I wonder how many YouTube channels I've watched over the years. I know at night when I'm at work, I'll just put Forrest Fenn in the search and I'll find channels I've never seen before. This test is what gone on for 2 hours now. Oh, 2.5 hours. What do you think, Michael? What are you thinking about? Should I get off? Oh. You know, I haven't been drunk in probably 6 months. So tonight's an anomaly. That half a bottle I've had for 6 months. That was the last time I got drunk. Look at Michael. He's attacking my creatures. What, you don't like those? What's this? Now I know I'm losing it. You know what I miss is edibles from Denver. And the reason I don't bring edibles back from Denver is because when you leave Colorado and you go into Nebraska, there's been a rash of state troopers pulling you over and looking for marijuana in your car. I just don't want that hassle. I might have seen your channel, Dave. Like I said, I've seen so many channels that, and some channels are like they stopped producing years ago, and that's why they're harder to find. So, those are the channels I like to watch because back when the hunt was new, every idea was new, and I like to watch those old channels to find out what was new. Oh, if it's new, yeah, I'll check it out though. Maybe not tonight, but I will. I think people are leaving. I think people might be playing poker. Yeah, here all night. I could be here all night because I work nights. So I've already done my sleeping for the day. I work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I'm on my weekends. I try to keep that schedule so I don't pass out on Sunday night. So yeah, I'm usually up when all the people are asleep, sitting here. And I do things like I bought this truck because you could take the bottom off and you got this whole box to hide stuff in. And see, my buying never stops with this stuff. I'm always thinking about where could I hide something? Where could I put a code? And I saw that truck and I was like, man, the back doors don't open. So this is a solid box and the bottom just comes off and you got a whole empty box here. I thought, what can I do with that? And I'm just always thinking about stuff like that. We use Zoom at work, but it's been so full of vulnerabilities they might get rid of it. So I don't. Zoom might be a flash in the pan. I'm thinking. I do work for a Fortune 500 company, so they take cybersecurity very seriously, and they put the nix on Zoom. It's hard to find a good video conferencing because we're worldwide, so we always got a video conference. So. I doubt it calls ours. Yeah, calls ours. I thought there was going to be a video about questions Forrest wouldn't answer. And I know the last stream you did had one of those where he said, I'm not going to talk about that. I think those are more telling than the other ones. Come here, you. Come here. Come here. People have even stopped chatting. This is the folder with my solve in it. Ugh. If anyone ever gets a hold of this briefcase, they have all the answers. That's for sure. I don't really do well with search partners. I've been alone for years. There was a person in chat the other night who mentioned they were in the area where my cell was. I thought about, hey, I wonder if I could get them to go check my area, but then I thought, nah, I better not. But I've never partnered up with anybody except my son, and he's talked about this hunt and he's looked into it. I might loan him my book, but yeah, I don't know. I just never had I used to hike alone and people would chastise me. People who live in Denver who hike are like, you don't hike alone for real, do you? Because you're going to die. I'm like, no, I hike alone. So, yeah. Oh, my. So no, I don't think so. A party. This is about the most I party. I'm gonna eat some chips. I think one of the reasons I actually got a buzz tonight was because I'm on an empty stomach. I haven't eaten since this morning. It is 1 a.m. here. And so my stomach was completely empty when I started drinking. People are passing out. Oh, there's only like 6 people left in chat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. I'll try to. Thanks a lot. 24. I only showed 6, so I don't know. Maybe it's 24 viewing the channel. Oh, I guess that's 24 viewing and 6 in chat. The solution folder is funny because, like, I won't even talk about it. Yeah, somebody just joined and somebody else just left. I think people are going to sleep. But yeah, I wish the camera would. If I had my phone on, I could. If this was on my phone, I could show you all around here. Go to page 127. 127. Forrest, when you look at these old pictures, he's such a 70s character. I remember the 70s well, and that's every time I see a picture of him in the 70s, I'm like, yep, that was the 70s. 127. This is the one where he talks about the soda caps. Dr. Pepper has in the eye implants. Those over on the drink side, don't care about the rules. I do see the giant eye. I know I keep joking about that, but I just keep thinking that the blaze is going to be a giant eye. But no, what's on 127 other than, I mean, the picture on 126, somewhere north of Santa Fe. I did try to do in Maranatha, the pictures pointed to words. I tried to point the key, but the key doesn't point to anything. Treasure chest points to Orange Crush. Yes, I have done all this stuff. So. I might have opened this because I was showing that there's a key in this picture. There's a key right here. So people keep saying, what is the key word? The key word is treasure, because this is the only picture of a key in the whole book, and it's next to the treasure. So that's why I opened to that. Was just to show that keyword. I mean, if it was me, I'd put something sneaky like that in there. And I always, in my little drawers down here, I always keep a ruler. Like I said, the key doesn't point to any letters. The treasure points to the word soda, and the top one points to Orange Crush, and this one points to immune. And this is, I mean, I've done this for hours. That's what I do. I just look for stuff. This is one of the ones with the blurred out date. I've noticed that some of the dates, so this is Friday, 5 June, but the date is blurred out. And it's blurred out in a different way. The other dates are blurred out. The other blurred out dates all look the same, but this one looks different. But if you go to Friday, 5 June, and I've done this before, of course, without a date, I guess it doesn't matter. But I have Googled all the dates and the stamps, and they don't match up. So that was one thing I noticed was like 5 June might not have been a Friday. It might have been a Wednesday. And I just thought, with a little research, you could have matched all those up. I think the blaze will only be seen when you're there. I don't think it's going to be found on Google Maps, Google Street View, somebody's picture. I think you're only going to see the blaze when your boots on the ground and you're there. That's why I think speculation about the blaze is a moot point. He said the blaze is something that will stand out. I've wondered if he created the blaze. But I don't think there's been any definitive suggestion that he created the blaze. So if it's natural, then that's going to be a whole different ballgame than if it's man-made. Let's see what's going on here. And it's funny because, like I said, I talked to Michael Stather, and he would hide a token. He would draw a picture of the tree, and of course, he had photographed the whole area. He took the GPS coordinates. He took a map of the area and marked it on the map. So he really studied where he hid it. And I just can't imagine Forrest would do something without writing everything down. I don't know if he would have a GPS device or if he wanted to, but it just seemed like he would put it down there and then note everything about the area. And I don't know if he had the poem then or anything, but I could just imagine he looked around and studied every rock and tree and branch while he was there. Just, I don't know. But, like I said, Michael Stather he spent a whole day at every site writing and drawing and taking pictures and stuff. And for something, and that was only for a little token. For something like this, I just imagine he took pictures. I can't imagine he wouldn't take pictures of here it is in a spot and this is where it is, and writing it down and writing down there's a tree, there's this, there's that. And it just seemed like he would do something like that just without telling anybody. I'm not saying he would tell anybody or put it in a book, but just for his own sake. But I just think he knows more about the area than he's ever letting on. And it's just like me. I've been to my spot so many times. I've taken so many pictures from so many angles, and I just and I cannot make out how this latch closes. I think one of his biggest fears would be the box would open and spill out. He must be very confident of this latch and how it closes. It looks like the tail of this creature goes in the hole and then probably snaps tight. And I can't even see where the key would go because the latch would cover that hole there, unless the key is on top. But yeah, I would think he was going to be very careful to make sure nothing was going to spill out, nothing was going to, rust open or anything. And I think when you see the blaze, it might not be near the blaze because he says when you see the blaze, look down. So you might see the blaze, but you're looking down and you're not near the blaze, but you're looking down when you first see it. So you might come around a corner and see it and it's there, or you might look up and see it and it's there. But I don't think it has to be near the blaze. And the blaze, yeah, it must not be too conspicuous. I know if I'm hiking, let me tell you a story. And I got lots of pictures of this on my Facebook page, but I know I don't my Facebook page is personal, but I was once hiking in near Black Canyon in Colorado, and I was hiking and I saw something. It was like I was at the end of my hike and I was going back to the car and I saw something glowing in the trees, and it was like bright. I mean, it looked like someone had lit up a spotlight in the trees. I thought, what the heck is that? And this was probably 4 or 5 hours before sunset, and whatever was in the trees was just blinding. I mean, it was bright. And after sitting there looking at it, and I have a camera that has an amazing zoom, so I was zooming in on it, but I couldn't tell what it was. And so finally I said, I got to hike up there and find out what that is. And it took me about half an hour to hike up there. And as I'm getting closer, I'm like, that can't be what I think it is. And I got closer and I took lots of pictures of it, because the closer I got to it, the brighter it got. I mean, it was just blinding, and it was the most amazing things. And if you see the pictures I took of it, like it's just like a forest, and then there's this, it almost looks like a fire. It's this bright orange thing in the forest. And it was just amazing. And when I got close enough to it to see what it was, I just couldn't believe it. But what it was a stump. And the stump was covered in amber with the sap. And it was like thick. I mean, it was really thick amber. And just the sunshine into it made a prism. And this stump just glowed in the woods. And it was one of the most amazing things I'd seen hiking. And sure, because the amber was hardened at this point, it was hard like a rock, and you could see the stump and where the tree must have broke off in a windstorm. It wasn't a clean break or anything, but all this sap had oozed out and oozed down the side, and it just formed this perfect prism. And I got tons of pictures of that. And I challenged people on my Facebook page at first, says, can you guys identify this? And, it took me a while to figure out what this was. And I mean, I had to like go up this steep cliff and everything to find out what this was. But I mean, I wouldn't use that as a hint in a treasure hunt, because a landslide might cover that and bury it. But I mean, that was just amazing. That tree was just the perfect form to reflect sunlight. And even though it was surrounded by higher trees, it lit up like a spotlight, and it was just amazing. And so, yeah, I mean, a blaze could just be about anything. So I'm assuming if he didn't make it, it's some kind of rock formation. And if he did make it, it's going to be the letter I. Oh, Hoolie's retracting messages. Yeah, and the blaze, like I said, and I said this in a couple of videos back, where more stuff falls in the forest than you realize. So I think even if you did put this in between two rocks and you could look down and see it, I think in 10 years it's going to be covered with forest debris, and it's going to be covered with leaves and needles and twigs. It's going to be harder to see now than it ever was. That's why. And when I hike, I always take my my metal detector with me, and so I would probably be waving that around as I'm walking in my area, because I just think if it's still visible, I would be surprised. I would think some brushing away of debris is going to be necessary to spot it. If that's not true, if it's still visible, then I would think it's up high where debris is going to hit it and keep falling. But yeah, I think it's got to be something that can't be covered. I would think the blaze is vertical. See, a true blaze, if you're blazing a trail, would be on a tree. And since trees I think a blaze on a tree wouldn't last very long. So if he created it, it would have to be on a stone. I don't know. It's like I said, the blaze is going to be something you're only going to find when you're there. Did you guys see my map of the area of where my solve is? And why I think the map even fits what he said about the 500-foot searchers and the 200-foot searchers. I think my map is right here in my briefcase of many things. It was right here. Here's my anagram, such as it is. Huh. All right, cats, did you eat it? It must have fell in a folder. Oh, yeah, that's my solve. Oh, wait, here we go. Now, the cats have chewed assumptions. I showed it. That's the map. That's a map that I made of the area. So that would be north. The trail from the parking lot splits, and the main part keeps going, and there's a littler part that goes up, goes along this dry creek bed, and then curves away from it. It never actually crosses the creek bed like this one does. And where this comes within 200 feet, there's like an area where the trail is 200 feet from this creek bed. Where that first comes in contact with that is about 500 feet from this trail. So everything, I was thinking he talks about 500-foot searchers and 200-foot searchers. If someone's walking along this trail, they're not going to be aware of it, but they're within 500 feet of the treasure. And if someone takes the fork and goes up this trail, they might not be aware of it, but they're going to be within 200 feet of the treasure. And this is in the area, like I said, this is after my put in beneath the Home of Brown. And the reason I like this creek is because it's a dry creek bed. There's no paddle needed to go up this creek bed. But that's, I found that while Googling my area. And I think if I'm in that area, somewhere in here, if I leave the trail and go to the creek bed, I'm going to see a blaze somewhere. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But that's my solve. This purple folder actually has more in it than the red folder. Oh, that brings back memories. I briefcase of many things, but that's one of the reasons. And like I said, I just stumbled across that after I picked that spot to be the area I wanted to go boots on the ground. I was on Google Maps one day and I thought I saw the measure distance thing. I thought, well, I wonder how far this is. And it was 500 feet. And I thought, I wonder how far this is. It was 200 feet. I thought those are the two measurements he talks about. And a dry creek bed where that water doesn't go into it is a perfect place. I mean, there'd be lots of rocks. There'd be, it could be big rocks. I won't know until I get there, but I'm sure there's a blaze somewhere there, and then I'll know where to look for the treasure. But I also believe that the treasure, each clue brings you closer and closer. I believe you said like a 12 by 12 area, 12 inches by 12 inches. Which is exactly how a hunt should go. Each clue should bring you closer to you're practically standing on top of it. So that should be interesting. Phoebe, what are you doing up there? Come here. My cat Phoebe's been acting really weird lately. I'm kind of worried about her. And now she's like sitting up on top of the chair. There was also a site where someone took this picture. This is a picture of Forrest on his horse. And they actually went to this area and they found the background. They can almost pinpoint exactly where this picture was taken. And that's within a couple miles of where my solve is. So yep. There's just so many things. I think my solve is right. I'll have to find out where these forums are, because every forum I go to, like on Mysterious Writings and everything, the last posts I can find are in February, I think. So I don't really see anybody even talking about my book. So, but I'm logical like a Vulcan. Oh. I need hydration. And that's so nasty. Cabin Creek area. I don't know where that is, so I don't know if I'm anywhere near there. I do know that where my warm waters halt is actually where a warm river meets a cold river. And that's where warm waters halt. You can bathe in the warm river, but even if you go upstream, it's too cold to bathe in. So the warm waters halted there. And I have found a picture of an old man in a beard bathing in the river, so I know the river's warm. And if you've ever been up in the Rockies, I know that when I go early on, it's snow melt, and then the rivers are so cold, I can't even walk in them, and my feet are numb. And later in the year, when you go in like August and late August and stuff, that's when you can actually get in the rivers and do stuff. But that was in Colorado. The times I've been in Yellowstone, this was way before the hunt. I didn't go in any of the rivers and stuff. There was always signs that said, "Do not touch this water," and I'm a big believer in signs. So, and when I was there, it was after somebody's dog fell in the water and it like dissolved the dog down to bones. I'm like, no, I'm going to stay out of the water. Is Cabin Creek in Yellowstone? Because my solve is not in Yellowstone. I do want to visit Yellowstone again. I mean, I've been to Yellowstone before, but this will give me like a new insight to it, and I'd like to go back again and drive through. In fact, if I'm coming from Iowa, I got to go through Yellowstone to get to where I'm going. So I'm just waiting for the go ahead. Everything's closed, everything's locked down, and all my friends are worried. They're like, "You're obsessed with this." Like, no, I'm not. I just want to go hiking and get out in the forest and stuff. And yeah, so I'm trying to find that balance between when I can go and when people are not going to be worried about me going. My solve is not in the park, no. And I looked at a lot of Colorado locations because I've been all over the state of Colorado. Um, when I lived in Denver, it's kind of my philosophy that if you live in a place, you should explore that place. And when I lived in Denver, I would alternate going into the desert and going into the mountains, and so I got to know a lot of places. Oh, I don't know. I was talking about Forest Fen. I don't know if Cow Lasers is trying to trick me into saying where mine is. I will say Denver is so full of parks. Every neighborhood has a park. Uh, it's kind of a competition almost to see who can make the best park. In each neighborhood, it's almost like political boundaries within the city of Denver. And um, working for the school I worked in, I worked all over Denver, and then I worked all over Colorado. And I got to know a lot of the neighborhoods and a lot of the parks and stuff. And what I would do is I'd study Google Maps. I'd find weird things in the parks, and I'd go find them. I still do that. If I wasn't doing this right now, I'd probably be on Google Maps, looking for weird things on Google Maps that I can go explore. And that's how I found my saw. Was I was on Google Maps and I saw these two rivers, and I said that these rivers are different colors. I wonder if that means something, and it did. And if you look at people's solves like from 5 years ago, you'll find a lot of people had the same idea I did. Cabin Creek. So what state is Cabin Creek in? I think people are falling asleep. If it's 1 o'clock here, it's. Oh, I must still be drunk. I can't do math in my head. I wish Phoebe would come see me. Phoebe, come here. The Hebgen Lake area, that's an area I want to explore because like my secondary and tertiary solve are in that area. He does talk about the lake and the plane that wouldn't take off. I don't know. I think it might have just been a coincidence because he at first he wasn't talking about things, and then a searcher died, I think, but he died like in Arizona or somewhere, and that's when he started. That's when he put out the map, I think, and I think more interviews came out and stuff, and more things came out, and people decided based on things he said that it would not be in that area. And I look back at because I do remember when the poem first came out and seeing interviews of him on morning shows and stuff, and it's different. It's different now than it was then, and I think because of things he said since then, people have given up on this area. But I think if you go back to just the poem and being simplistic about it, that it could be in this area, and I think people gave up on it based on interviews and stuff, but sticking to the poem, it could still be in that area. I don't know if that made sense or not. I don't think it was any particular announcement. It was just like a time frame where he started. I don't know if another book came out then. I'm not sure when Too Far to Walk came out. I don't have that book. But I think just based on interviews and stuff, people were like, he wouldn't put it here. But if you go back to the purest poem, it's like, yeah, it could be there. just because he said, oh, I don't know what he said that would make people want to go away from there, but from me Googling, I haven't seen anybody search that area in a long time. The Rio Grande. I'm trying to think if I've ever been down to the Rio Grande. I must have been across it at some point. I've driven across Texas. Ghosts are coming out. The other thing was that all the people that searched this area stopped before the area I want to search. And I think only one or two people went beyond that area to the area I was going to. And so I don't think, even though people started at where Warm Waters hauled, they didn't go to where my home of Brown was completely. And I don't know how long Google Maps have had a satellite view of this area. I know in my hometown, the main street was the only thing on Google Maps for the longest time, and then suddenly some of the side streets showed up. So I don't know if back then this area wasn't an area that was very well covered on Google Maps as much as it is now, and that's how I was able to see the area and measure the distances and stuff. I don't know that much about Douglas Preston. I'm not even sure who he is. I know another famous person who I keep in my brain, I keep getting them mixed up. So every time I hear Douglas Preston, I think, oh, that's Forrest Gay Lover. I don't know why I think that, but every time I hear his name, that's the first thing that pops into my head. But I'm like, no, he's married, he's got 2 kids, so not necessarily so. Don't tell Forrest I said that. It's funny because I've had 2 serious girlfriends, and now I live alone. I have a son who's really into treasure hunts. Nobody knows where I've hid mine, and I never have told anybody, so I could see him not telling people. Like I said, my solve is right here in my briefcase. I have told my sons, if anything happens to me, the solve is here in the briefcase. You can figure it out from there, what to do, what if you want to do. Because if something happens to me, I don't know if my family will carry this on or what. It'll still be out there because I don't think any of them will go and retrieve it. I can't wait to go. And it's such a cool thing because when I did my Valentine Goose, that was last summer, and it was just such a cool thing to go there and go, oh, it's still there. It's still, no one has stumbled across it. No one has found it. And it's just the coolest feeling. I can't describe it. So I don't know if Forrest has ever gone back and visited his chest, but it is a cool feeling to think, man, it's still there. No one's found it yet. And I wonder about people finding it because, in Michael Stather, he hit a secret 13th token that was found accidentally. So I don't know. I bet he's got to be curious. He's got to be curious if it got covered up, if something shifted, if it spilled, if the latch is still latched. I mean, I don't know how hard this latch is, but I've seen squirrels open boxes before. I've seen raccoons open garbage cans and bears open things. And I don't know. I just can't wait to go. I mean, I really can't wait. And I was thinking about the heck with getting my car fixed. I'm going to rent something and head out there. I think someone might know the general area. You might have said, hey, when I was on this trip, I hid this. So someone might know the general area or something, but I don't think they would know the specific spot. Why is this? I must not have put the screws in this all the way. Always tinkering. You should see my car. I've actually put buttons on the outside of my car that do things. People are always like, what are those buttons on the outside of your car? But yeah, I do stuff like that all the time. I haven't worked on anybody's online ciphers, so no. Yeah, I'm just surprised as you are, Christy. I was going to go to bed like a couple hours ago. I've lost my buzz. I got the munchies now. Where would there be a White Castle? I know it's not around here. They're in Chicago area. That's the only place I've ever seen a White Castle is around Chicago. There's none in Iowa that I know of. I think there's something hidden in the poem that we haven't found yet. Every time I think about he spent 15 years on the poem, I'm like, this poem could be written by a high schooler. What is there about the poem that took 15 years to write? You know, I don't think it was a rhyming scheme because you can rhyme anything, and it describe, you know, there's 9 clues that describe where to go. So what took 15 years? You know, I think he had to fit things in there. And Terry Scant is a dead giveaway because who says Terry Scant? That is the stupidest phrase in the English language. And so if he had to fit Terry Scant in there, I think there's a reason. There had to be a number of letters, the capitals, the first letters, something had to fit. And so, I mean, probably once or twice a week, I'll go back to the poem looking for a code. I just think there's one in there. It just stinks of a code. And yeah, getting the clues just right, but why would he say Terry Scant? Hurry up has the same number of syllables. You could say, where's my poem at? You could say hurry up in the same spot and mean the same thing. It's here somewhere. He says, but Terry Scant with Marvel Gaze, just take the chest and go as peace. You could have just as easily say, but hurry up with Marvel Gaze. Be very quick with Marvel Gaze. Terry Scant is like a horrible phrase that had to be put in there for a reason. And to me, that's a dead giveaway. Like I said in one of my videos, like when you force words, to me, that's a clue there. And it might just be because I'm always looking for codes. But to me, when you force words and use words that nobody else uses, you're forcing something because you had to fit the code. And I think that's why he said there's a word that's key. There's something that breaks down, and it's like a transformer. This is the transformer in the poem form, but somehow you pull it and it's going to be something else. I found the poem looking at a map because I used to search for cemeteries. So I would get on Google Maps and I would zoom in as far as I could, and then go like for 20 miles in one direction, looking for anomalies in the landscape that could be a cemetery. And then I would go up one screen and come back, and then go up and then come back and go up and come back. So, I mean, back when I was doing cemeteries, I would do that for hours on end. And I did that also when I was looking for something to do, like here in Iowa. I'd be like, what can I do this weekend? And I would just go to Google Maps, say, well, here's something strange on the map that I can't figure out what it is. I'll drive there and find what it is. So I was using this technique in the area that he talks about in various interviews and stuff. And this is before I got the book. And I found two rivers that came together and they were different colors. And when I started researching these rivers, I found that one was warm and one was cold, and that people had searched there previously. And then I zoomed out, and then things just started falling in place. So yeah, it was kind of found as a fluke. But it's a place dozens and dozens of people have been to before. I just think they didn't go far enough. Yeah, I know what Terry Scant means, but I just think there's other ways you could say that. Like I said, hurry up is the same number of syllables, fits the line, but hurry up with marvel gaze, but be quick with marvel gaze, but don't hang, there's just so many other things that's normal English that could have fit there. And Terry Scant is a phrase a normal person would never use. I've heard the word tarry because I've read lots of old English books. Don't tarry in the mountains. Don't tarry here. I never heard Terry Scant together. And when I Google it, Forrest Fenn is the only thing that comes up in Google. In fact, I went to that language page that puts words together, and I put Terry in there and I put Scant in there. They wouldn't even connect on the language page. So yeah, that is very, very forced. And you're not going to convince me otherwise. Oh, let's see. The thing must be over. Not sure why you went on. Oh, flush. Yeah, so the thing must be over. Yeah, I'll probably save this. I don't know why, but I will. It was only supposed to be a test. I haven't searched. Whenever people ask me what state I'm searching in, I say Ohio. Yeah, well, it does fit the rhyming suite because it's like when you do rhyming, but Terry Scant with marble gaze. That's 8 syllables. But Terry Scant with marble gaze. So it's 8 syllables that rhymes with blaze. And it has nothing to do with the peace and cease. So you can say, but hurry up with marble gaze. That's still 8 syllables. But quicken out with marble gaze. That's still 8 syllables. I mean, there's so many different ways you could say that. Maybe you missed this part. What do I do with it? Well, I just had it. So this map that I was showing you earlier, where Warm Waters halt is about, if you go up a couple miles, there is a ranger station, and then a couple miles past that is here. So this is about 8 miles from where Warm Waters halt. So it's not far, but it's too far to walk. Yeah, and it's not even about the rhyming scheme. It's about the choice of words. Like I said, Terry, I've seen Terry in lots of poems and lots of Shakespeare has used it. Um, Tolkien has used it. I believe it, just books from that era. Um, you know, Terry is a word that's used. And scant, I've used scant before. There's a scant chance I'm right. But Terry scant together, that just isn't done. To me, that's forced. And whenever something's forced, it's forced for a reason. He didn't just come up with that. Those weren't just two words floating around in his head. He had to search for those two words. And if he had to search for those two words, there was a reason he had to search for those two words. So anyway, that's just my take on it. And I'm just looking here if there's another area like that. Yeah, there's other. The rest of the poem doesn't really have anything that forced in it. Um, I've used the word nigh before. I've used all these words before. In the wood, I used to live in England, so I'm used to saying not forest, but go in the wood. Um, yeah, some of the rhyming doesn't rhyme exactly, but those two words are just forced to me. Yeah, let's see. He uses the words he does because no other words will do the same job in their place. Yeah, but he used them. He must have really had to search for them. And I don't know. I still think there's a reason that's like that. And it might become clear when someone finds a chest. I hope somewhere he wrote down, if there was something, he writes down all the answers and what he was thinking when he wrote the poem. I know at least one person, um, and again, I'm going to bring up Michael Stather. He actually wrote down, these are my reasonings why I did everything. And maybe Forrest Fenn did something like that, and he'll release that if he's still alive when this is found. Halt and walk. Where's halt? Oh, begin at where warm waters halt. Take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Yeah, I don't know. There and where, bold and old, meek and creek, nine high, blaze and gay, cease and peace, go, no, seek and weak. Yeah, it's the only place that doesn't exactly rhyme. And again, I'm sure if I don't know, not far, but too far. Yeah, don't know. I still think it's forced. If he said he's put 15 years into this poem, he used a lot of dictionaries. Yeah, I'm going to leave it out probably. I'll leave it up. People can go through it. My philosophy is I've talked about the book, and if I talk about the book and then erase it, that means people have privileged information. I don't want anyone to have privileged information. That's why I don't answer emails. So anything I say in public, I'll leave up in public. Come here. Why won't you come here? Phoebe's been like sitting on this chair staring at me for hours. I wish I could get her down. Oh, shoot. 3.5 hours. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it quits here soon. Any more questions? I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. You can't boop this kitty's nose. I'm the only one that she'll allow to pet her. Anyone else she will attack. And I know you can't see it, but my arm is just full of scratches and scars and stuff from her. And she is a barn cat, from a long line of barn cats, but I did get her as a kitten, but she just never acclimated. But I love her to death. I will never get rid of her. She just likes to be left alone. And she does get moods where she will come and lay on my lap, but yeah, if you're a stranger in the house, don't even try to go near her. Now, Mike, on the other hand, he loves the kids. He'll curl up next to the kids and rub against them, and they love him. And for some reason, they can't tell them apart, even though they're different cats. So I'm in Iowa right now. I am 1,800 or 18 hours. I can't, 1,600 miles from my search area. I am searching outside of Yellowstone in Ohio. Ohio is the home of Brown, the Cleveland Browns. I am searching, I'll say west. It's west of, I wish I had my map. I don't know where my map is. West of Yellowstone. I think, I'm not sure if that's Montana or Wyoming or Colorado in that area, without my map. I'm being vague on purpose. Yeah, it's west of Toledo. I will say that. Home of Brown. And if I do go and eliminate my area early enough, because I will take a week off, which leaves me 2 weekends, 7, 8, 9, 10, which gives me about 10 days of travel time. I'll need some of that for Denver. I'll probably only spend a couple days in the search area, and I'll hope to get down to Craters of the Moon because I love that area. And then from there down into Colorado, there's a couple areas in Colorado, northern Colorado, that I wouldn't mind visiting again. Some paranormal areas that I need to get back to. And yeah, I guess Montana. I don't know. So hopefully this 10-day trip will be nice and fun. If I do find it, I might extend the trip. I haven't had a dream that I found it. So if I haven't had a dream I found it, I don't believe I will find it until I have a dream I found it. So that's weird logic, but you know, if I have a dream I found it, then I will know I got the right area. Bozeman, I probably will pass through Bozeman. I have a lot of superstitions, like a lot. And, you know, I have very vivid and very detailed and very extensive dreams, and I don't know why. But a lot of the things that have happened in my life, I dreamed about them before they happened. So if I never have a dream that I found the treasure, then I will believe I never found it. I will never find it. So if I do have a dream that I found the treasure, then I will have more hope that my solve is correct. It's more of a superstition. It's just a lot of coincidences that have happened with my dreams. A lot of the major events in my life I have dreamed about beforehand. But I know that given the kind of dreams I have, eventually I will dream something that will come to pass. So it's more coincidence than anything. What was my dream the other night? Oh, what was it? I have a lot of nightmares too. I think that's because I have vivid dreams. So I have a lot of nightmares about my time at Bentwaters. I have nightmares about. I have 4 kids, and when my daughter was like 3 years old, she went missing for about a day and a half, and that will give you nightmares if you're a parent. Um, I have never gotten over that. She's like in her 30s now, and I've never gotten over that. We were in England at the time. We were on off base housing from RAF Bentwaters, and she had wandered off. And luckily, she was found uh, by one of the locals, and the whole base was searching for her. And I swear to God, as a parent, I would never want to live through that again. There was another instance where she had fallen into a pond, and when I pulled her out, she wasn't breathing. So this daughter of mine, because I still have nightmares about that, and I think I always will. As a parent, that is not something you ever want to live through. And I'm tearing up right now just even thinking about it. But yeah, I still have very, very horrible nightmares about that. Now that I have grandchildren, the nightmares are about the grandchildren. And yeah, that's not something anyone should ever live through. And yeah, but I also have nightmares about the UFO I saw. I have nightmares about some things that happened to Michigan, and nightmares about my childhood. So I do have a lot of nightmares, but I do have a lot of dreams that they're just so vivid. That's just crazy. I think there's a lot of spots for everybody. Oh, everybody has a spot. Yeah, and it's funny because Michael Statler's hunt is what now 12, 15 years ago, and I am still in contact with people I met during that hunt. And there's one special person. I'm not going to say her name, but I've dated her for a couple of years, and we're still in touch. And yeah, I almost I did ask her to marry me, but she said no. But yeah, I've met people based on that hunt. I'm sure this hunt has done the same thing. In fact, I think K-Pro and Cow met due to this hunt. I will tell you this: there's a character in my book, and there's also a character in Three Men in a Tub, based on that woman. Oh, I can't wait to go boots on the ground. I want to take my car. I drive a Honda Element. If you ever Google Honda Element, you'll see that a lot of people use it as a micro camper. And I have used it as a micro camper. It's not a permanent micro camper, but I do have a setup that I can take the seats out and make it into a micro camper. That's why I wanted to get my car fixed before I went boots on the ground. But I'm so excited I might not wait, and I might just go ahead and rent the car. No place I'm going is going to be challenging to a car, so a rental will do fine. But I'd rather have my car so I can sleep at campsites and stuff. But I don't know. I'm going to wait. Yeah. Do I have a picture of her? I talked to her just today. I don't know if Christy saw the Gons. Here's the Gons right here. I like humor. I put a lot of humor in my book, Three Men in a Tub. I put humor in the Beacon Star. I like writing humor. I do. I want to work on the sequel to 3 Men in a Tub, but I also want to work on. There's a new story I have based on a ghost. It only comes out in the month of December, and Gons. Yeah, Gons. Gons. I've made up. I made this when I was 16 years old. So I've had this, say, 16, 26, 36, 46, 56. I've had this about 40 years, and it survived. And you can see his hand broke off and his foot broke off. And if you listen, oh, it came out. There's part of his foot right there. It's been inside him. But these, yeah, I used to make those when we were doing slow periods and we had leftover clay. I'd make all kinds of creatures. Hermione. Guns. I like the idea of a creature with no head, and the face would be right here. Just that is something that would give me nightmares if I ever actually came across that. I actually met a woman named Hermione. Where did I meet her at? I think it was when I was in Mexico. I met someone named Hermione. And that's how she pronounced it, was Hermione, so that's how I pronounce it. I worked for an international door company, and they actually gave me the factory in Mexico for a couple of years. So I was going down there a lot. I have dealt with bears. I encountered a bear one time hiking in Colorado, and it ran away from me. So, but when I hike, I have a backpack, and it's a really good backpack, and it has this really good harness. And I have my binoculars, and I have my camera. I never leave without like 7 or 8 flashlights, because that's a whole other thing. So I have flashlights all over me, and they all rattle. So all that rattling tends to scare away any bears or other animals that might attack me. I don't know if it'll attract any, but it definitely scares away the bear. At least it did in Colorado. It scared away the Colorado bears. But yeah, that's when I hike. That's one of the things I learned. I learned a lot. When I first went hiking in Colorado, I about killed myself. But at the end of 3 or 4 years, I was kind of good at it. Yeah, the one time I came across a grizzly, I was hiking down a hill, and there was a steep gorge with a river in it. And it took me all day to get through this and up the other side. And I was starting to switch back up the mountain, and I was coming up, and the bear like jumped out, and I scared it, so it was running away, and it ran down and it fell in the gorge. And so I'm standing there thinking, I can't go back to the car because it's towards the bear. So the best thing is to continue on, because it's in this gorge now and it can't get out as far as I know. So I felt a little safer seeing it go in there. But yeah, that was a sobering experience, because I didn't believe I would ever encounter a bear in the wild, and so that was like the first time I ever did. I did walk. Well, twice. Once I walked up on a deer to where I could almost touch it. And once I was taking a nap, and I woke up and a deer was sniffing my face. I tell you, I woke up and I went, ah, and the deer went, ah. So I think that scared me more than the bear did, because I thought that deer was going to hoof me to death, but it just ran away. But yeah, if you wake up and you see that face in your face, that was a sobering experience too. But yeah, when I hike, yeah, I'm worried about animals, and so I always make a lot of noise. I did get a couple bears on video in my car. I'm driving to my campsite because I have a dash cam. So there was a couple times bears would run across the road in front of the car. I got some of those on video. Bozeman. I'll have to look at my map, see how close I'm going to get to Bozeman. isn't Bozeman, what's the next town over? So I remember it's in the book. They talk about Bozeman and the next town. I can't remember. Bozeman, Montana. Man, I wonder if I can do it this way. No, I can't. I might be thinking Billings or Butte. Or Red Bluff. I believe there's a Red Bluff mentioned in the book. I can't remember when I did my tour. When I drove, I went through Yellowstone. I must have went up through Butte and Musela because I ended up in Spokane. And that would have been the route I took. Spokane. I know I went to Crater Lake. I'm not sure where Crater Lake is in there. Oh, Crater Lake's way over there. Yeah, because I went up to Spokane, went to Seattle, and then I drove down the coast through Portland. And I went to Crater Lake, but when I was at Crater Lake, there was a forest fire going on, so we had very limited access to Crater Lake. Butte. Yeah, Idaho is one of the places where I lost all my pictures. So that whole leg of my journey is the leg I lost all my pictures of. And then there's that jungle out there. The rainforest. I don't know. It was very, very thick forest. I had fun in there for a while. I drove down the beach. It was my first time swimming in the Pacific Ocean. And it was really cold, but I had my crystal ball with me, and I promised I would dip my crystal ball in the Pacific Ocean. So I went swimming in the Pacific Ocean, just freezing. And I said, I'm going to go underwater. And I actually went underwater. And I was the only one on the beach. There was like cliffs and stairs coming down from the parking lot. And I was like the only one anywhere nearby. And I came out. It was actually a warm day, but it was cold water. And I came out and I laid on the beach and dried off. But it was just kind of a roadside thing. I was just driving down the coast, and I just pulled over at random. I'm not even sure where that was. That was a cool trip. I had so much fun. I called it my Vision Quest. I did so much stuff on that trip. Well, I think I'm going to call it a night. One of my pictures is crooked, but I'm not sure which one. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's been fun hanging out with everybody and having stuff dragged out of me. Just dragged. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, so horrible. I did pass Mount Rainier. Didn't go on Mount Rainier or anything. All right, guys. This was supposed to be a 10-minute video. Now I can see how someone could accidentally make an 8-hour video. I'm not going to mention any names or anything, and then fall asleep in the middle of the video. So you guys take care. It's been fun. I'll probably sleep right here. This is a small studio, but I have a bed on each end and then my couch. So I sleep in a different place every night. That's another little thing you don't know about me. I can't sleep in the same spot twice, so I sleep all over. Sometimes I sleep on the floor if my back's hurting. But yep, take care and good night. It's been fun. I'm sure Kyle Lazar's got some things for his forum. I don't know if he's still here or playing poker, but I'm going to go hug on Phoebe for a little bit. So you guys take care, and it's been fun. Now let me see the best way to get out of here. Oh, here we go. Oop.